But yeah, anyways, before we get started, but yeah, I guess I don't know if anyone else comes by our streams, but yeah, we last time we talked about Hindutva fascism in America, right? In that
We
video,
did.
yeah, there was a lot to go over, and hopefully that like hopefully like and I did see on YouTube quite a few people watched it too on your channel, so
True.
which by the way, I'm gonna link to. Um,
Yeah, you want to
link
yell
to
at
your channel
you want to
here.
yell at dipshit
Um,
conservatives in my comments section. Go right ahead. If you want to defend
yeah.
yourself for whatever reason.
Yeah, there you go. There's a lot of we do over on the YouTube, we do get the very entertaining comment section crowd over there. But yeah, last time we talked about that, and so both I think the part 1 and 2 of that are on his channel.
Yes.
Um and so yeah, today we're going to cover Kashmir. Now this won't be as long. We'll see. I do want to keep it shorter because it is the video is shorter, A, and B, the it's a lot more of it has to do more with the current events. So but I guess where I want to get started is sort of where things are at currently. So yeah,
Yeah.
as you
It's
yeah, I
because
could
this
see
is a
your
current.
stream there.
Yeah, this is a currently developing situation, right?
Yeah, by the way, before we let me pull up the map as well of Kashmir. Let me pull it up on. I really like DuckDuckGo Maps. It's really good compared to Google Maps. Okay, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. There we go. All right, so geography lesson. Where are we talking about Kashmir? Kashmir, obviously, people know where the Himalayas are. Mount Everest. Mount Everest is toward like Nepal and China, like way over here. But in the in Kashmir is actually this northern part of the country. In fact, let me see. That's satellite. I think it's just as clear on the map, but yeah, you can kind of see it's this northern part of the subcontinent, sort of touching Tibet, Tajikistan, Afghanistan. The Khyber Pass, that infamous highway that's like one of the most dangerous roads in the world is there because it's super high up and no guardrails. Um, and then northern Pakistan, which is all like high mountains. So this is like one of the highest regions of the world. As you can see, there are mountains over 25,000 feet in this region.
Lorch.
25, 26 plus. Yeah, K2 is in this region as well. So this is a very high part of the world, and it's been settled for millennia. Basically, it's kind of interesting. It's been settled and conquered and fought over so many times, as
It's like a.
as a
It's,
lot of the subcontinent
yeah,
has
isn't
been.
it like it's a pretty big not like a breadbasket, right? Like it's pretty close to what the Hindu Kush and everything, right? Which is like a pretty big breadbasket and shit, right? Not Hindu Kush.
I wouldn't call it a breadbasket. I mean, there is some agriculture in this part, but because it's such high elevation, it's very specific crops. You're talking like tree nuts, apples, saffron. Of course, a lot of saffron comes from there, and of course, wool. People know Kashmir wool is some of the highest quality wool in the world, and yeah, it
Oh
comes from
yeah,
there.
cashmere
Yep.
sweaters and shit, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Uh, Yeah, chili. They grow some varieties of chilies can grow up in these elevations, but then when you go downrange from Kashmir, when you go south into like Pakistan and India, then you get towards the Punjab region. The Punjab region is very fertile soil. It's some of the most fertile soil on the planet, and of course all those rivers that come from the glaciers of Kashmir basically like provide water for the entire subcontinent. So
right.
you could already kind of see when you have a region in the world that's so high up where glaciers are still, where there's still big glaciers. You have some of the world's biggest river valleys starting from those glaciers.
Hmm.
You can imagine how many countries want to fight over it and how many empires have wanted to fight over it for a long time.
Right.
And yes, Kashmir willow and pine. They grow a lot of pine and willow trees, so lumber is big up there as well. They used for making those exquisite cricket bats, yeah, and furniture and stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot of valuable exports and stuff out of Kashmir, and of course, it being strategically located has always been this sort of crossroads for trade and of course conflict. So. Um, I guess Rohan will probably explain this, but what's currently happening? Basically, there was a terrorist attack, as probably everybody knows, in a sort of a touristy ski resort town called what was it called? Pahalgam, which I'm gonna put it up here. Um, I'm obviously saying it in native pronunciation, but this is Pahalgam. It's a town. It's at 7,000 feet. It's over 7,000 feet high. Um, and so I'm just putting the pictures up on the screen. These are actual photos. Like this is hard to believe that it's this beautiful up there, but yeah, this place is literally heaven on earth.
Mm-hmm.
The all of the Kashmir valleys and mountains are just heaven on earth. Just very beautiful place.
Nice.
Yeah, just gorgeous place. And this is kind of I guess this is like a district map of it, but um, there was a terrorist attack here, and so what ended up happening is 28 people died. They attacked like the main like market square and in the town and like the resort hotels and stuff. And 28 people died. A lot of people had to go to the hospital, and it was done by a terrorist group who they claim to be like Kashmiri separatists who want like an independent Kashmir, but really what they are Pakistani ultranationalists who want Pakistan to take all of Kashmir for itself.
The
So you
classic
know,
psyop.
yes,
Classic.
yes, they are a psyop, and there are again there's a lot of rumors right now. Apparently, the defense minister of Pakistan claims the U.S. was behind it, which I don't buy anything those people say.
Yeah, the ISI is like. I've
Yeah.
heard some stories from some people. I know.
Mhm.
Okay, those guys are sussy.
Yeah. And well, and they're super cunning. Like they go after somebody, they go after them hard. Like they will disappear people. They're already disappearing a lot of people and activists and anyone associated with them in places like Balochistan, right? That region of that southwest region of Pakistan that borders Iran.
Mm.
They are they're cracking down on the Baloch minority people. So. Um, Yeah, blaming the and yeah, I think this is more of an internal India-Pakistan, conflict. That's what I'm seeing a lot more of. And yeah, Indian and Pakistani troops are actually exchanging fire over the line of control, up in the higher elevations. So that's not good.
Fucking
Yeah,
crazy when I heard about that. They're shooting each other. It's like, uh oh.
yeah. And
That's
they're
wild.
both nuclear.
Yeah,
They're
that's
both
why.
nuclear powers.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like,
So
is the happening gonna happen? Is it over for us? Nothing ever happens, bros.
I don't know. Yeah, and the other thing too is like so what's happening is in India, the Indian government is actually destroying homes already in this region. So India, they've accused Pakistan of having a connection, which is plausible considering the origins of this terrorist group.
Mhm.
And so the now they may not be backed by the Pakistan military, but they are Pakistani like ultranationalist separatists.
Right.
Not separatists, they're like insurgent groups. But India has suspended visas for Pakistani visitors, expelled diplomats from Pakistan, and halted a water treaty that divides 6 rivers between the two countries. So basically, yeah, there's
Yeah, I
along that
heard this
border,
is
there's
pretty
some like
big, right?
important rivers. Oh, this is massive. I mean,
Yeah,
this
this is
treaty is
big.
from the time of independence. This is from like the
Yeah.
1950s. So yeah, this is a really old, and of course, airspace is closed off between the two countries as well. So Pakistan basically did a tit for tat, said no more cross-border trade, and closed off Pakistani airspace for any Indian aircraft. So that includes, I think, commercial as well. So they cannot fly over Pakistan, which that hurts. I mean, I don't know if it includes commercial aircraft. It might be military only, but I don't know. It probably includes commercial. Um, but anyways, Indian officials have taken other measures. Homes belonging to 5 suspected perps were destroyed, and of course, I don't trust India to get that right either. Of who the perps are, they're just going to go after anybody who's an activist because, yeah, these people are the people who did the attack are terrorists, but India will then take 2 steps too far and say, well, anybody who advocates for Kashmiri independence from Kashmiri independence is a terrorist. Like, unfortunately,
Right.
they take it way too far. It's like assuming all Palestinians are Hamas, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, they're all homeless,
Um,
actually.
true, and we condemn them. Just
True,
kidding.
true, for real.
Yeah. Ethan, do you hear that? No, I'm just kidding. So, anyways, the so basically, Indian officials have actually been bombing homes
Mm.
in some of these areas of suspected perpetrators. And yeah, you know, it's like this isn't how yeah, they're just this is all part of this escalation. And you could see the photos here of like the result of this bombing by the by the Indian government and Indian officials. Um,
Epic.
and if yeah, I mean this is the result of what you get. Like these are people in the neighborhood who live here. You know, how many people got injured in this bombing? Like, did they do evacuations? I doubt it.
Man,
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen this before. You know, this I feel
Hmm.
like the scene has played out before.
Yeah.
Uh,
And also there's the Jammu and Kashmir police who claim they are like an independent, police department. But
and I guess that's all a
again,
LARP, basically.
yeah, they're beholden to the Indian government ultimately, and also Kashmiri Muslims. Not just Kashmiri Muslims, just Kashmiris in general do not trust the police. Which, yeah, ACAB applies everywhere. And yeah, you could see these police. They use tear gas and other things, and they violate the Geneva Convention constantly. So against peaceful demonstrations of resistance. Um, so yeah, there's an article about the JKP, the Jammu Kashmir police, who are like the regional police, and so like they'll try to do like civic action programs of like build bridge building between the public and the police. It's a LARP,
Mm.
and to try to win the youth to serve in the police and like be against terrorism, but de-radicalizing. But like again, most Muslims in the world, and this includes Kashmir, are they're not radicalized. They're actually like, if you think about it, the acts of radical sort of terrorists are the number one victims of those attacks, whether it's in Afghanistan, Iraq, all those countries, is Muslims. Like Muslims are the number one victims.
Right, because those are the
You
people
know,
that are living there. Right, that makes
yeah,
sense.
like in Baghdad and other places, right? So yeah, exactly 235. It is kind of like an IOF, or kind of sort of like, if you remember in the early days of Israel, the early days of the around the time of the Nakba, and then after that, up leading up to the 67 war, there were the early Zionist brigades. Like there was the Irgun and the forgetting the other one. But like, yeah, this is almost kind of like an Irgun if you think about it. It's kind of comparable to them. But anyways, I don't want to do too much prefacing with Rohan's video, but basically that's the current state of things. So there was a
Right.
terrorist attack that has escalated tensions. We've got cross-border,
There's skirmishes happening
military
now. Yeah.
skirmishes at the line of control. We've got the Indian government doing, sort of systematic bombings of people they suspect are dissidents.
Right.
And also, again, India has had a long, long history of suppressing peaceful dissent in Kashmir.
Right.
Of Kashmiri people who, the vast majority of them, do not want to be part of India or Pakistan. I'd have to look at, I don't know if there's reliable polling, but from, a lot of the independence movements are very popular in the region. The independent press is really popular. Unfortunately, the Indian government actually shut down one of the only independent newspapers in the region
Hmm.
a couple of years ago. So epic, amazing. Yeah, so they shut down an independent Kashmiri newspaper, and so who printed in the local language as well as English.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's all this suppression of this region, and again, like you said, it's the maintenance. As I'm going to quote you. You always say it: the maintenance of hierarchy and control. Like, yeah, I mean,
Whoa,
I'm
conservatives.
stealing your thunder.
Whoa, no, that's
Um,
my thing. What the heck?
yeah, no. But yeah, it is this maintenance of hierarchy and control.
Hmm.
Now, similarly, Pakistan has also been equally as repressive toward Kashmiri people, because they obviously want control of glaciers, territory, of tourism, areas for tourism, with all the mountains and stuff, right? They want, and of course resources, right? So they want control of that territory as well. And of course, Pakistan and China are, Pakistan is on the Belt and Road, right?
Yes.
They do a lot of trade with China. A lot of freight goes through the ports and through their on their highways. So uh, because of that, Pakistan wants regional control.
Right.
Yeah, 235. I don't know if I'd phrase. I mean, it is a majority Muslim state, and they call themselves an Islamic Republic, right? Pakistan calls themselves an Islamic Republic, and yeah, they do have an economic corridor as well. So that's kind of part of the reason Pakistan is being so aggressive about Kashmir. So some people might think, and a lot of Westerners might think, oh, well, India doesn't like Muslims, therefore, India is the enemy of Kashmir and Pakistan is their friend. It's like, nope.
No, yeah, I'm pretty like
Kashmiris are surrounded by they are surrounded by adversarial countries that are
I think
yeah.
I know someone who's Pakistani. Bro shit talks
Mm,
the ISI all the fucking time.
based.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he doesn't get caught.
He doesn't live there, so we're
Or me.
probably okay.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be
um,
fine.
But yeah, he stole that from India and Pakistan are the same. I mean, so Arun has made this point. He's from southern India, so he's made this point that like, and part of it has to do with the language family. So if you look at the whole map of the region,
Mhm.
like you have the southern states, which have a completely different language family. The Dravidian languages,
Right.
which are very different from Indo-Aryan languages, which Indo-Aryan languages are kind of the root of like, Persian, Arabic, and of course European languages, right?
Right.
So, hit Arun's argument is that Pakistan and northern India should just be one country, and then leave the South alone. Let them be independent. Let them run their own things. Which I'm cool with that. Like, it's funny being in America. A lot of people are like, "Wait, that's like a confederacy down south." I'm like, "No, that's not the same thing," because
Oh,
this is
I
a
mean,
completely
yeah,
different
like,
situation.
God, the term Confederacy like means fucking nothing to like Americans. To be honest, a Confederacy is
Yeah.
just like it's just it can be the same term as like a union of a bunch of different like polities or regions or whatever. Like it's a similar term. It's just that it's a there's like a George Carlin bit about this. It's like, I mean, it's a term that's been fucking tainted by fucking history. So
Yeah, I mean, a confederation technically is like a union of like states that like agree and
yeah,
become
who
one
agree
unit.
to
Like
like on
it's
a common
it's
course, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
the biggest confederation that we know of throughout history. Lithuania, Polish Lithuanian Commonwealth, right? They were a
Yes,
confederation
that's
of
one.
states.
Yeah. So you got some Tamil posting in your chat there, of course, in anglicized there. I can't even read that. See, this is the thing. I'm from the same country that 235 is from,
Nice.
but he's from southern. He's from Tamil Nadu, and I'm not. I'm from way up north, so I don't even understand what that means.
Those are words. You know, they probably mean something
Yeah.
to someone. I'm the I listen. I'm the Westoid here. I clearly know nothing. All right, clueless. I have to be purposefully ignorant. I am the token white. We all know this. I am sitting my white ass down and listening. I just want to
Yeah,
say
and
that.
yeah, no, yeah, and it's yeah, and but yeah, I support this notion of like if the southern states want to be independent and form their own country and have a Dravidian state basically, more power to them. Because the India India is bearing down on them with like imposition of language and is trying to there's a lot of other things they're doing with southern India, like they're trying to impose the more of the caste system down there and stuff like that.
Right.
So yeah, the translation, leave us South Indians and Tamils alone and that's enough. Yeah, and like I
Makes
said,
sense.
if the South became independent, I mean, they wouldn't like not let me visit. Like, I would absolutely love to visit. If they became a separate country.
Well, boy,
I've been to
unfortunately,
Southern India
well, it
before,
looks like it's
so
time for Boy Meets Mini to be canceled. He will never visit Tamil Nadu ever again, ever.
no,
It's over.
no.
It's
Yeah,
over.
Kerala doesn't want me now.
Yeah.
Even though I've been there before.
You didn't.
So, anyways,
You weren't supportive enough of Kamala Harris.
True, 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 true. Yeah, I didn't pray. I didn't pray in the temple. You know,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
temple
yeah.
dedicated to her.
The Temple of
Yeah,
Kamala.
that was crazy. By the way,
It's funny.
that was like, yeah. I bet you were like, huh?
Oh no, that doesn't
um,
surprise me at all. Yeah, she's from there, right? This is like, yeah, that makes
yeah,
perfect sense.
yeah. But anyways, so that's sort of a crash course on what's going on in Kashmir right now. A little bit of the historical background
Mhm.
of why this part of the world is like so like contested, and of course how I of course see everything even as someone from India, born in India, like I'm not going to take India's nationalist side on this. I'm not going to take Pakistan's side or China's side on this. Like I'm on the side of the Kashmiri people because ultimately in a democratic system it should be up to them, right? If Kashmiri people want their own country and want self-determination, more power to them. Free
Wait,
Kashmir. Like it's yeah.
wait, but I thought that this was a conflict that existed for like 1,000 years. That's what Donald Trump told me. Come on, what the heck?
Yeah, remember? Yeah, so Trump said that apparently India and Pakistan have been fighting for 1500 years.
1,500
Um
years.
yeah, which I'm like, okay, dude, when did we get our independence? Before that, it was all one colony called the British Raj, and that included Pakistan, modern day Pakistan.
He
Yeah,
was
he doesn't know
born
anything.
during the existence of the British, or it would have just ended. He was just born when the British Raj
Yeah,
was about to exist. What,
he's
1940?
78, right? So
It was
he would have been
1947, right? He would have been born the same year that the British
Yeah, he
Raj
would have been
were
born the year the British quit. And of course, Lord Mountbatten drew the borders and said, have fun, guys, have fun fighting each other. So yeah, um, which again, that was not the partition it was a genocide basically. Let's not forget about that. But yeah, no, and Kashmiri inhabitants, I agree, should choose their future, their destiny, their own, their own. They should be they should have self-determination as a people.
Definitely.
And of course, that's not going to exclude others. Like if they want, people to come there and visit, and if they want tourism, if they want just, other people to come and live, cool. And I think that's what they want. They don't want to be an ethno state. That's what I gather from a lot of like sort of independence activists who are Kashmiri, and they don't want to like exclude other people. They just want people to respect them as a people, and obviously they don't want all the trappings of like global capitalism and tourism as well. But they still want people to come and visit. So, but they want it on their terms basically. They want ownership, and they want it on their terms, which is based. I fully support that. So that is my position as an Indian, as somebody who's from North India. A lot of North Indians, unfortunately, like I sent you a couple links. All the unks are saying, "Oh, well, we need to treat it like Gaza." I'm like, wow, they want a carpet bomb. They want to carpet bomb
Real.
this place too. Like,
Real
yeah,
want it.
it's crazy. So we'll go over that at the end. But yeah, let's get Rohan's video started. I think because it's
We're gonna
21 minutes,
we're gonna carpet
1.25.
we're gonna
We're
carpet
gonna
bomb 'em, folks.
God. And then later he'll say, "I don't know why there's a lot of bombs dropped." Like he's been saying about Ukraine, like what Trump's been saying about Ukraine.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't know,
I don't
there's a lot
understand.
of bombs dropped.
I told
Yeah,
Putin to stop, but he's not stopping. I have no idea why he's doing that. It's like really weird.
yeah,
I thought I was best friends. Like I don't get it, folks.
yeah. I thought he was my friend, folks.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Your unks are more sane than them. Mine are too. Mine are fairly sane. I think part of it is that being minority Christians, we're a little more like up north. You'll see a lot of Christians, who are pretty friendly with Muslims, just because both of us are kind of, oppressed by upper caste Hindus. That's literally it. But yeah, I haven't seen this, but I have seen some unks on like the media in India who are just going crazy, who are saying really unhinged stuff about Kashmiri people. So anyways, free Kashmir. But yeah, on Kashmir, what you need to know. This is the same guy who watched last time, Rohan Davis. For
True.
anybody in chat, in either of our chats, I highly recommend Rohan's content. His channel, it's Rohan X Davis on YouTube. He's actually South Indian himself. He's from Kerala originally. So but so he does a lot of videos on the subcontinent and all that stuff. So debunking Indian fascist talking points. And yeah, that's the American Hindutva one that we did
That's true.
last time. But this is a quickie on, not it's sort of a quicker video on Kashmir. So, what you need to know. Wait, no, really, no. What do you mean next door neighbor? Like same,
The
like
targeted kill.
because okay. In terms of, I'm like, is he actually your neighbor? That's pretty cool. I wouldn't. I would love to be neighbors with him. But in terms of state boundaries, okay, so he's one state over for you, one province over for you in Canada, or no, one state over in India because you're Tamil and he's Malayali. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, Rohan is also from the south. So, but anyways, are we 1.25? We are. Okay, captions on 1.25. Let's go.
Let's go.
The targeted killing of 27 men, mostly tourists, in the town of Pahalgam, Kashmir, is the largest attack in the region since the year 2000. The group who took responsibility for the killings is known as the Resistance Front, or TRF,
So
also
it
known
was
as the
it was
Kashmiri.
targeted, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
who was like specifically being targeted?
Um, I think I think they were let's see what they who they were targeting. TRF attack because I know it was a public it was in public.
Yeah.
Let me see. They killed 26 tourists and more than a dozen others. Yeah, I don't know what their intent was.
Okay.
In a Telegram message, TRF opposed the granting of residency permits to outsiders. Okay, so their target was they didn't want foreigners
They
owning
didn't want
property there.
foreigners.
Like, yeah.
Okay. That could
Um,
really mean anything, right? That could mean
yeah.
anything.
Oh, come on. Um, yeah, that seems to be what their main like intent with this was. Um, Yeah, so see here, Indian officials have consistently, and I don't know how true this is, but India claims that TRF is an offshoot or just a front of a Pakistan-based armed group, which they're not part of the army, but they're like an armed group, like an insurgent group in Pakistan called Lashkar-e-Taiba, which they're like a super ultra nationalist like type of group.
Okay.
From Pakistan. So again, I don't know if the two groups are like if one is a subsidiary of the other or if they're just both associated and sort of allied in terms of sharing resources. I don't know. But yeah, there's just a lot we don't know about the TRF because India will stretch the truth, Pakistan will stretch the truth, and that's the problem when you have nationalism. The truth, you don't know what the truth is. There's just
Yeah,
so
it
much
becomes all
propaganda.
fucking
It
bullshit,
sucks.
right? Yeah. Just
Yeah.
becomes hard to discern anything. It's true.
Yeah, but it seems like what was happening is they don't like that, tourists are showing up and, sort of they see tourism as this like encroachment of Indian authority, basically, which it kind of is. You could argue, but also if Pakistan took over, they would do the same thing, right? They would do
Yeah,
they
they
would do
would.
exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it's not. There's
Yeah.
money to be made. There's money to be made, right? Like,
Yep.
exactly.
So, anyways, yeah. Also, would you trust a group just calling themselves the Resistance Front? That sounds like an op, dude.
Yeah,
That
that's
doesn't sound
like I'll be
legit.
honest, that just sounds like that's like basic fucking like
Yeah.
if you had like a particular affiliation, you can come up with some other shit. Okay, listen, this isn't like fucking Star Wars. This isn't like fucking like Disney, heckin' soy Reddit, fucking whatever the fuck bullshit. Yeah, nah. The you could come on, you can do better than that.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
This is this is soy. This is Reddit. Don't
Yeah,
like it.
this
It's
this
an
is
up.
very Reddit filled. Yeah, the
It's an up.
TRF, the Resistance Front. Anyways, okay, so
Resistance. There's not going to be much editing in this one. I've got a full-time job. Besides this, got to pay rent, don't have an editor. But just wanted to say something about the situation because it's not often that the world suddenly cares about Kashmir, which is the grotesque nature of this algorithm-driven world. I mentioned that
these are
the
real
Resistance Front
pictures.
took
Wow.
responsibility for the attack,
Mm.
but there's still a party who hasn't claimed responsibility for anything. and that is the current Indian government, who is clearly a fraud.
Yes, Saffron Santa over here. Let's see. So the guy, obviously, you know who this guy is. This is Saffron Santa, aka Modi.
Clueless.
And the guy to his right, the guy to his right is one of his right-hand men. He's also from the RSS and all these groups. This guy is the Home Minister, Amit Shah. Amit Shah is the Home Minister, and basically is dictate. I wouldn't say. I mean, at this point, dictates. But yeah, he's the home minister, so he influences and signs off on a lot of domestic policy in India, and of course, that includes immigration policy. So, and that has a lot to do with this. The immigration policy does, because the immigration policy after 2019 became really Islamophobic. Like they don't want Muslim refugees from Bangladesh and
Yeah, are they trying to
Myanmar
like?
and other countries.
Are
Yeah.
they trying to do like? I feel like I've heard about this somewhere from before, but
Mhm.
they're trying to do like the Israel. Are they trying to do like a settlement project of like Kashmir? Is that like a thing that's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
I know.
and
I heard about.
I'm
This.
gonna let him explain it. I
Okay.
think Rohan's gonna explain it. Like I was gonna explain it, but I'm like, nah, Rohan's gonna explain it like about like the history of like Hindus who were in Kashmir. They've been there for a long time, but like the sort of the history of like Hinduism in Kashmir and how like now because of the national Hindutva nationalism, Muslims are seen as invaders in Kashmir when that's not really true. I mean, yeah, there was their Muslim conquest. Yes, of course, the Mughals existed, right? But yeah, to attribute that to every practicing Muslim is ridiculous. So, anyways, that's the fallacy that the Indian government commits. So,
Right.
anyways, yeah, but that's Amit Shah over there on his left, who is behind a lot of Modi's draconian policies.
For the lack of action and the lies it peddled just days before saying that the area was safe for tourists. Not only that, on March 28th, the previous month, 4 Kashmiri rebels had offed 4 policemen in the region. 2 of the rebels escaped and were still at large due to the incompetence of the occupation forces.
Now, I wonder, were these rebels TRF or not? Let's see what he says.
Considering this is the world's
Or might have been a
most
different
militarized
group.
zone with at least 700,000 Indian armed forces in
Yeah, there's 700,000
Yes,
armed forces
700,000?
stationed in Kashmir.
Jesus.
Just from India's side.
Who knows about how much there is in Pakistan, right? Because there's a Pakistan
Yeah.
as well, right?
I mean, yeah, Pakistan, across the line of control, like, I don't know how many they have stationed, up there, but yeah, like, India has 700,000 people, 700,000 service members stationed in Kashmir. It's ridiculous. Yeah, yeah. And you thought Korea's DMZ was bad. Oh
Yeah,
boy.
the region. Any eyes from
Jeez.
civilians and the world should be squarely looking at what the military is doing in the region with that many people, and why a resistance force formed in the first place. Why would you open up this zone for tourism? Right now, a lot of Hindu nationalists and the worst elements in the country and around the world are trying to turn this event into fuel to spread Islamophobia against random Muslims in
Oh, look at this. Look at these comments. I don't know if I even want to read them out loud, but look at the bottom one. Yeah, moderate Islam hides the radical. Okay, yeah.
Sure.
Let's go Shah. This is a reference to Amit Shah, of course, that guy, Modi's right-hand man.
Yeah,
Yep.
that guy.
Yeah, 27. So what this guy's saying here, 27, that's how many I think people died in the terrorist attack.
Yeah, the dude wants
So-
to use it as like a justification to go after more people, basically, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same justification that like, in that Bibi makes, right? He says, "Oh, for every one person every one Israeli, we have to go after 1,000 Palestinian or whatever." Like, yeah, this is literally BB 2.0, yeah. Yep.
India who have nothing to do with this. The algorithm will probably feed this video to a lot of those people looking to join in on the hate right now.
Free
One glance
clout.
at the comment section of any media covering this, and you'll see that unfortunately, this event is already being used by Hindutva far-right groups and even Indian liberals to demonize all Muslims. Comments basically saying that all Muslims are
Yeah, even the liberals in India are also demonizing Muslims.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You're telling me that the liberals
Mhm.
are bad? Liberals are bad
Yep.
guys? Whoa.
Yes. Some of them, some of them even uphold Hindutva to a degree. They say, well, at least that, it promotes some kind of civic nationalism. It's like, no, no, no.
That doesn't.
Like it's, yeah,
That shit is not for civic nationalism. Yeah. Okay,
no, it's
liberals.
no. Yeah, so yeah, the Congress. So so similar to like you guys have in Canada, you have the Conservative Party, and then you have the Liberal Party, and then you have
Who
your,
just
you
got
know, your.
owned? Fucking
Well,
losers.
I know, L Pierre.
Not good.
He lost his seat too.
Fuck you, Pierre. Fucking
Yeah.
loser.
Yep. But yeah, so in India we have, kind of a similar. I mean, we have like a two coalition system, right? Not so much of a two party, because we have regional parties in every state that are language specific and culture specific. But like, we have coalitions, right? You have like a right and sort of a lib left coalition.
Right.
So the lib left coalition is led by the Indian Congress Party, which that's a little confusing to Americans because we call our legislature the Congress, the combined legislature, the two houses. But in India, the Congress is actually a party. There's sort of a neoliberal, I would say centrist to like, sort of I don't know if there are some center left people in it. But there are some center left people in it, but it's mainly like neoliberal. And then there are some people who are center right as well, who sort of like, you know, uh, you sort of lean into some of the sort of like social conservatism to get votes, or they lean into things like caste and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a de facto two party. It's two coalitions. Like right now, India is run by two coalitions. You have the current government, right? The what are they called? The UPA, which is you don't know, you have the NDA right now, the NDA, and then you have the India. So there's the India coalition, who are the Congress Party and all the you know, sort of lib and left parties, and then you have the NDA, three letters, who are the BJP, Modi's party, and all those coalition parties. So the NDA is the ruling coalition right now, but they're just a plurality in parliament. They're not a majority.
Yeah, 'cause
Like
of the recent
yeah.
elections, right?
Yeah, they tanked big time in the recent election, even though and Modi barely scraped by. And in fact, Modi's own party, the BJP, is a minority in the parliament. So, and India is still first past. Yeah, they're basically like Canada's system, right? It's first past the post parliamentary.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, but yeah, even the liberals are being Islamophobic to foment like civic nationalism. Amazing.
And even Indian liberals to demonize all Muslims.
Mhm.
Comments basically saying that all Muslims are terrorists in one way or another are getting thousands of likes, praises all over the place. The Indian
Yep.
population has been primed for decades with anti-Muslim propaganda to have this reaction, as the same response isn't generated when Hindu terror groups are given this designation.
Yeah, and how many times? I remember last time we were talking about, obviously we talked about the
RSS.
demolition of that mosque in 1992, right?
Yeah.
Or we talk about the Gujarat riots of 2002, which Modi was basically the perpetrator of. That's why he got banned from the U.S. initially, because the U.S. basically figured out that he was the perpetrator of the Gujarat riots, which killed like 2,000 people. And a lot of them, I mean, a lot of them were also Hindus, but mainly Muslim. Muslims were like the main victims of that, of the Gujarat riots in 2002.
This Modi guy, he doesn't sound too bad. I don't know, folks.
I mean, that's a Trump. He would say that. Trump would say that. I mean, um, but yeah, I mean that's and of course we've read about these extremist Hindutva orgs who carry out, basically have done pogroms, who have done like, violent riots against minorities in India, who attack minority religious communities and lower caste communities. on the regular basis, and so they do acts of terrorism, but nobody bats an eye, and they say, well, whatever. But then when this happens, everybody's up in arms and wants to start World War III. So yeah, it's really messed up. And now, of course, it's even the liberals are sort of they're sort of expressing the sentiment of sort of this and this sort of 9/11 era nationalism, so to speak. Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, Elon again. You have to remember is X/Twitter. I know I'm gonna dead name X. I'm gonna do it. Okay.
Based. Listen. I've
um.
had this joke before. There's three people that are okay to dead name. Okay, Twitter, Bad Bunny, the streamer, and Mike
Oh,
from PA.
not the pop star. Yeah, and Mike from PA. Yeah. Redacted. But anyways, yeah, he's PA does not endorse him. But anyways, what was I saying? So yeah, we all know that like on X or slash Twitter, there's a lot of censorship of Indian journalists, and particularly Indian journalists who are more lib and left leaning, who actually report on the crimes of the Modi government. And so Elon will gladly, censor them, but comedy's legal. Yeah.
Same shit
Amazing.
happened with Erdogan, right?
Yeah.
Guy,
Yep.
wait, Elon, what happened? Where's my heckin' wholesome Marino Reddit epic big chungus free speech? What's going on, Elon?
Yeah. All the people in Turkey are like, what? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, especially when when Erdogan, I think particularly around the time recently when he was like when he imprisoned his opponent, right? Who was the Istanbul mayor? Yeah, he imprisoned his
He did
opponent.
imprison him, yes, but this was
Yeah, yeah.
this. I'm tired. This was before during I think the elections, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
and
This
then
is yeah.
the imprisonment. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Elon also censored people for that shit as well.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't. It wouldn't be surprising if they like followed orders from the Turkish government to censor posts and stuff. I mean, again, he's done that with India, with Pakistan, even. So, yeah, he loves censorship. The guy who wants to make comedy legal loves censorship.
That's true.
That's a weird one, isn't it? Anyways, yeah. Yeah, so it's weird how like Hindutva terror groups are not given that designation, but Kashmiri separatists and anybody who expresses the view of we want an independent Kashmir that's peaceful, they are branded worse than the Hindu terror. Like it's just messed up.
People don't say the VHP are terrorists, therefore all Hindus are terrorists, or the KKK are terrorist Christian groups, therefore all Christians are terrorists. The media isn't mobilized or incentivized to cover events like Dalits being murdered every day, either because the priority of political parties in this country is only the Hindu-Muslim divide. But I digress. With
Mm.
many
And who made that divide? Can you tell me who made that divide, the Hindu Muslim divide? The good old Brits. The Brits, yeah, they drew the borders
Not the British
throughout
Raj.
their
Ah, heck.
and during the whole time of the British Raj, Muslims and Hindus were by force segregated by the British. That's how they ruled. They divided and ruled. They did this all over the place. So yeah, yeah. People will. And it's crazy because in India, if you talk to a lot of people, they say, "Well, the Muslims just want to be by themselves." And I'm like, "Have you read your history? You went to school here in India. You learned the curriculum. So either." One of two things is wrong. Either you didn't listen, or the curriculum has been nationalized and sort of, revised to not show the actual history. So, yeah, you should know who created that religious divide in the first place. Again, the British are no stranger to that. Look what they did in Ireland. So, anyways,
essentially calling for the locals of Pahalgam to be punished as well. Some
Jesus,
commenters
dude.
try to talk people down in the comments, but it's clear that a lot of people are calling for revenge, mirroring in many ways the Israeli response to the Hamas attack. And just like in that situation,
Yeah, and I like that Rohan makes that analogy. This is like the parallels are way too stark on this.
some questions must be asked. Who is this resistance group? What are they resisting? Why is Kashmir contested? How does all this affect the people who actually live there? And why do people who don't live there have such strong feelings about either India or Pakistan taking over? The history of Kashmir didn't start with this attack. And it didn't start in 2019 either, when India stripped Kashmir of its sham of a special status. It didn't start in 1947 either, when India gained independence. Kashmir's oppression and colonial exploitation started long before India came to be. Since the Mughal Empire annexed the region in 1589, Kashmir
15. So this goes back a while. Yeah, this goes.
Yeah,
This is the 1500s,
there's a lot
and
of history in India. It's
yeah.
got a pretty storied past.
Yeah, a few millennia, if not longer. And of course, prehistory, you have got the sort of indigenous people who've been there for like, 50,000 plus years, So it's like because of initial migration from Africa, from Africa. So yeah, so but anyways, yeah, since the 1500s, yeah, there has been this sort of religious separation imposed by various empires, the Mughal Empire, later after that the Sikh Empire. So there was a Sikh Empire, in Punjab,
Yeah.
that ruled before the British came and, started, colonizing the subcontinent. So yeah, these people, the people of Kashmir and the valleys and mountains of Kashmir have been under some kind of some kind of tyrannical rule from day one. Like it really sucks.
has never been ruled by Kashmiris themselves.
Yep.
Mughal rule was followed by Afghan rule from 1753 to 1819, followed by the Sikhs in 1819
Yeah, Afghans and
to
Sikhs.
1846,
Yep.
and then the Hindu Rajput Dogras from 1846 to 1947. Oh, and the British had a large hand to play here since
So what's interesting is the British had an alliance with those with those Rajputras who were these like super upper caste Hindus. Basically, they were Brahmins.
Right.
Amazing. What else did you expect the British to do? But they basically had an alliance with the Rajputras to control Kashmir as a colony. That they basically that's how they ruled. They ruled along with the Rajputras. And so this is how they exerted control over this region. And of course, I would not expect especially in this era, there are a lot of people I know who come from upper caste backgrounds who are actually pretty pluralistic. Like they want all religions, including Islam, to exist, and they respect people of all faiths. But they've had a modern education, and they've decided to educate themselves. But in this era, of course, in back in these times, yeah, if you were a Hindu Rajputra, you had no interest in elevating Muslims in any way. In fact, your interest was to keep them down and segregate them.
Right.
And of course, the British were like, "Cool, oi, bro, that's awesome." They went right along with it.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
they can maintain their own control. That's why.
Yep.
1846 to 1947. Oh, and the British had a large hand to play here since their war with the Sikh Empire. All the powers I mentioned before, from the Mughals to the British to the Dogras, no matter what religion or whatever identity marker you want to throw on history, had one thing in common. They wanted to exploit the Kashmiri people, their labor
Yep.
and resources. And that chain has simply been taken over by the two competing nation states, who do not care a lick about what the Kashmiri people want. They just want their land and resources. Both countries have been trying to manufacture consent through movies, propaganda, and so on for decades, which is why you see random
Oh, there are so many Bollywood movies, and there are some Pakistani films as well. But there are so many patriotic Bollywood movies in India about like Indian soldiers at the border and all. It's really
Yeah, I
crazy.
can
Like
only
if
assume probably how crazy it might be with like all the
yeah,
government. Yeah.
the most recent example was actually it was a very fashy film. It's called The Kashmir Files. That film was so unhinged. Apparently, so The Kashmir Files is kind of sort of a documentary, but it revises everything, and there's a lot of propaganda in it. It's I guess what would a parallel be to it? I guess it'd be kind of
Twitter
like the
Files.
movies. I guess, but much worse. So the Kashmir Files basically foments a lot of the same propaganda and does it in like a documentary format. And yeah, oh yeah, Alex. Yeah, I was on a flight in India a couple of years ago on a domestic flight. We were flying to another city, and on the plane, the guy had his iPad, and I was like a few rows back, but I saw this guy's iPad, and it just caught me out of the corner of my eye, and I was looking. I'm like, as soon as I saw him, like he like put up his iPad to watch a movie, and I saw the title screen. It said Kashmir Files. I'm like, oh no, you're gonna watch this on a plane, bro? Really? Like
That's
I was immediately sus. I'm like, okay, what's this guy gonna do? Am
that's
I safe?
that is
You
wild
know?
work. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
We're gonna.
So
It's
I saw propagandization live, yes, on an Air India flight, a domestic flight. So yeah, yeah, and so anyways, so that movie is sort of filmed as like a documentary and sort of a retelling of the history of like the expulsion of of Hindus in the 1990s from Kashmir, but it's told from a very like sort of like I said, it's kind of sort of like when you watch like Zionist propaganda. It's very similar to that, and so this movie when it was shown in theaters across India, people were like that movie riled people up so much that like you saw people like come out of the movie theater saying basically unalive all Kashmiris, like they were wishing for genocide, and also they were saying stuff against Muslims. Yeah, it was horrible. And they just let it run. It was one of the highest grossing films in Indian film history. Like I think it's one of the top 10 grossing films ever in India. um so yeah, the fact that that became like that's how ingrained this sort of Islamophobia is. It's really bad. And so, but there's been a history of these type of movies. Kashmir Files is not the first one. There were movies in the 70s, the 80s, particularly the 90s. That's when you saw a lot of them. Like, what's the one Amitabh was in? For all my fellow South Asians in chat, Amitabh, he's one of the most famous, like, legendary actors. He's like the Harrison Ford of Indian cinema. Um, uh, what was the one? It was Diwar. Literally, the film was called Wall or Diwar or Border Wall. So the film was called Diwar, and it was like a '90s film, I think, where he was like a soldier at the border, like a sniper at the border and stuff. So it was like really propagandistic, nationalistic.
yeah, LARP shit basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I watched that movie. If I watched that movie again, I would point out like 7,000 things that are problematic about it.
Is it?
So
You're saying it's
yeah.
also like a lot of these are like sort of similar to like the Zionist propaganda like movie. Do
Mhm.
they do like a lot of the like same like sort of like just batshit insane like conspiracism as well? Like they go
Yeah,
into
they'll say like yeah, they'll basically portray all the Muslims as like terrorists. And the way they portray like insurgents too, they'll do the whole like just like how in in the US, like with all the pro Iraq war films, right? Like you're talking about like what's the one it's kind of like American Sniper, right? If you remember that movie,
yeah.
they portray like the other side as like they're wearing like shamags and stuff, and they
Yeah,
look
it's
really menacing and scary.
dudes
Yeah.
in t-shirts with their AK-47 or some shit. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and they're in their 200,000-mile Toyota pickup trucks. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. It's kind of how they portray, Kashmiri like separatists and the different separatist groups. And again, all these different separatist groups, they have like different intentions. Like I said, the one that did the attack last week, they're not. I wouldn't call them a separatist group. They seem like an op. I mean, the name alone kind of gives it away that they're kind of an op. But yeah, it's like but there's other groups that are like resistance groups, and some of them are militant, some are not, right? So many of them are peaceful groups as well, who want a Kashmir, free Kashmir, a democratic Kashmir. Like there are a lot of groups like that, but unfortunately India will lump all of them into the terrorism bucket. That's what
Yeah.
they do. Yeah, just like the US does now, right? We're literally like we equate someone hijacking a plane on 9/11 with a student publishing an op-ed in a student newspaper as
More,
the same thing.
more like 4-year-olds with cancer who are American citizens.
True, yeah. The 4-year-olds were not condemning Hamas hard enough.
Yeah,
So yeah,
the 4-year-olds
yeah.
were just simply not yeah, they were just not gargling like Trump's balls enough or something. Who knows?
Yeah, they weren't wearing MAGA hats when they weren't wearing what is the cap that they put on infants when they're born? They weren't wearing ones that said MAGA on them that were bright red. That was their crime. But I mean, obviously, all joking aside, yeah, bring them home, please. Like, why are we sending kids? We're separating like toddlers and babies away from their families. Like, come on. Yeah, America. What do you want?
Love
What do you
America.
want to know? And yeah, India wants to do the same thing to a lot of these families and a lot of these people. You know, they just want to murder kids too. So they'll lump kids in, like Kashmiri kids, in as terrorists as well. Um, well, I mean, what's the problem? It's illegal, but they're institutionally we're not able to stop it. Yeah, and that's the problem.
Congress is not doing its job in like enforcing and saying
No.
like, no, fucking, no, you can't just deport these people. Like, they're not gonna do shit about it. Listen,
Yeah.
listen, hey Chuck Schumer, you said you were gonna do something when fucking Trump's approval rating went below 40%. It's below 40%. Chucky boy.
Yeah,
Gotta do something.
yeah, and Chuck Schumer's out here like people are aroused. I'm like, brother, you don't seem that aroused at all.
Oh, I'm aroused.
That is that quote that I will never forget that quote. That was his swan song when he said that.
That's true.
I'm like, you're done. You're cooked.
Yeah, bro is cooked. It's
Uh,
over.
Yeah, AOC is gonna primary the hell out of you. I hope she does. I really hope she does. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of, again, back to the sort of propaganda. Like this, I don't know what movie this is a scene from. I don't think this is a real picture. I forget what movie this is from, but yeah, there are a lot of movies like this that are. Yeah, I hope AOC for Prez, but I think her next step is like Senate and then presidency. So, yeah.
Commenters who've been alive for 2 seconds acting like they own Kashmiri land. The entitlement is unreal. It's giving Israel, to be blunt.
Yep.
The Mughals did nothing to help alleviate the region from poverty. They just used it as a summer retreat for nobles. The Afghans literally
course.
sold Kashmiri people as slaves back to Afghanistan, and also had a brutal taxation system on the region's Kashmiri shawls and textiles. Folks,
Yeah, so shawls, if you've ever seen a Kashmiri shawl, I actually own one. I would go pull it out. But a Kashmiri shawl, yeah, I mean, obviously they're showing it as a dress, but it's like it's a blanket basically. It's made out of pashmina wool, which is the wool that's made in the region. It's really soft, super high thread count, super expensive. Like one of these shawls can run you hundreds of dollars. They're because they're handmade. They're made from some of the finest wool in the world, and they're beautiful, beautiful handmade, handloom sort of style. Yeah, so in India, when you go buy one of these, you're spending serious money when you're buying a Kashmir made shawl. And shawls, yeah, they're like throws or afghans. It's a similar kind of thing. And like especially in northern India, it gets really cold in the winter because we get all that mountain air that blows down into the valleys.
Right.
So in winter, it gets like foggy and cold. It gets to like freezing point some nights. And of course, there the homes aren't insulated. They're built for hot weather.
Right.
So yeah, Balenciaga's nothing in front of this. Okay, but you put one of these on, and you have a nice hot cup of masala tea. You're good. Like you will stay warm. Like these things will keep you really really warm. So I have a couple lying around. But yeah, like when I go on airplanes and stuff, I'll take mine because airplanes get really cold and stuffy. So these help a lot. So. Yeah, yeah. But well, I probably shouldn't take mine on a plane to India next time because they'll call me a Kashmiri separatist if I do. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you might have some weird RSS guys. Yeah, that might be a problem.
Yeah. I just better not. Yeah, I can't catch an Air India flight now. I'm not allowed.
Yeah, you've been blacklisted. It's over.
Yeah, I got to settle for Pakistan Airlines. So, anyways, so. But anyways, yeah. But yeah, they used to basically do a luxury tax on Kashmiri shawls and textiles because I mean they're some of the best in the world. So, you're in Canada, 235. You know that. There's a Kashmir file on me. Yes, true.
It's over. Boy meets
Caught.
Caught. Yeah, the ISI and the fucking RSS are gonna be on his case now. It's over.
Broad will know Kashmir, right? Well, this is the millionth reminder of where that comes from. Anyway, the Afghans crippled the textile industry in the region. The next came the Sikhs, who also treated the native Kashmiris like serfs and had a two-tiered justice system in place.
Now, let me be clear about something. So Sikhism as a religion, right, it came about in like the Middle Ages or like almost the Renaissance era in Punjab. But within that society, apart from the religion, there was also sort of this like class in society. So there were like Sikh, sort of basically an upper class of Sikhs who were kind of like a priest class or like a warrior class. And of course,
Yeah.
you've probably seen Sikh people. They love their swords and all that stuff, which is cool. Like their swords look really sick. I wish I had one.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Their
I think
swords
I've
are
seen a
awesome.
Kings and Generals video about the sort of like
Mhm.
warrior culture of Sikhs.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, a lot of cultures have, a warrior culture. I'm cool with that. Like, obviously in indigenous cultures, like go to New Zealand or,
Yeah,
what
like the
Maori
yeah
people call
Maori.
Aotearoa.
Hmm.
Yeah. If you go to New Zealand, aka Aotearoa, they do the haka, warrior dance. And it's not just like to scare people. Like if someone like in New Zealand, I've read that because I know a couple of people who live in New Zealand, and haka is like a tradition, it's like a normal thing there. Like you do it to like honor somebody. Like if somebody they do it at like funerals, they'll do it at weddings, they'll do it at like anything where they're celebrating someone's life, to honor them. They do a haka in honor of them. It's pretty cool.
Okay,
Um,
neat.
but and in Tamil Nadu they have a culture of attacking from boats. Yeah, I mean Tamil, Tamils for a long time. I mean they traded. They used to do a lot of trade, maritime trade with other empires. Like you're talking like 2,000 years ago. They were trading with other empires at the time. And so they used to, go a lot of places, and they had, boats. They actually had like trade throughout the Indian Ocean. It was pretty cool. Um, and Jallikattu is the, if I'm saying that correctly, is the sword. I don't know if you've ever seen in India, if you've ever seen the sword fighting that they do. Look up videos of it of like India's sword fighting. It's so cool. Like especially in Kerala state. If you go down to Kerala, Tamil Nadu, if you look at their sword fighting, you'll be like, "What in the Dark Souls is this? This is amazing." It's absolutely. It's like it's almost like they have like Sekiro level timing. I'm not joking. It's crazy how good they are at it. Yeah, and they had a very powerful navy at the time as well. Yeah, that's true. So, anyways, yeah, there are warrior culture, so I'm fine with that. I think the problem is in India too, is a lot of people will assume Sikhs are terrorists too because they have a warrior culture. I'm like, come
Right.
on, every society had a warrior culture.
I mean,
What are
by
you talking
yeah,
about?
by like that argument, all the fucking warrior training that fucking the police go through all the time. I guess they're all terrorists now because they go through like warrior culture
I
training all the fucking
mean,
time. Like,
I mean, the LAPD, where you at?
listen,
Yeah.
we're being a little rhetorical right now. Okay, don't worry about it.
Yes, yes. We're just we're yeah, we're not making accusations. Yes.
We're doing a little bit of trolling.
Yeah, we're doing a little trolling. Um, Raja Chola plundered Sumatra and Malaysia. Yeah, I mean, again, these empires were not, I don't celebrate them, but I also understand where the warrior culture comes from. It's like a Sikh RCMP officer. I bet they exist.
No, they
I
probably
bet they exist.
there's probably some.
Yeah, there's probably a few unks in the RCMP. Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, but anyways, so the Sikhs themselves, so there's a Sikh religion, and then there was a Sikh empire. So they wanted to, and this is kind of the roots of Khalistan, because you remember what they happened to, what India did. They unalived that Sikh activist, right? What was his name? Nijar, I think.
Nijar, I think.
They, yeah, but they unalived him in Canada.
Hmm.
I think it was in Vancouver, where they unalived him
I believe so.
in front of
Yes.
a Sikh temple, in front of a Gurudwara, aka Sikh temple. So yeah, but but that movement, that Khalistan movement, is like a movement to make like a separate Punjab, but for Sikhs only. And the problem with, again, it's an ethno-statey movement. That's the problem with it. They're ethno-statey. They're also kind of religiously exclusive as well, so that's not good. So they're like an extremist Sikh movement. That's what I don't like about them. But they do make valid points about like how India did pogroms against them in the 1970s and 80s, and also did like mass sterilization and all kinds of other really, really horrendous stuff to Sikhs
Mm.
as well. So yeah, India created the problem in the first place. Yeah, because they were doing pogroms and mass sterilization programs, and they basically did what was called an emergency operation in Punjab for a few years. Yeah, Indira Gandhi, the first femme prime minister of India, yeah, the only femme prime minister of India, yeah, that's the problem. They did like pogroms in Punjab, and so that's where this militancy comes from. It's all from, this sort of it's like militancy anywhere, right? It's like you have this resistance movement that starts in you have a movement that starts out of resistance against pogroms and tyranny, and then unfortunately those groups also get let loose and they start doing terrorist attacks. You talk about groups like the LTTE or you talk about Hamas, right? So this is a similar thing. Um, are we still connected? I think we are.
Yeah, we're still here. We should probably just.
Okay, I thought. Yeah, I'm just checking Discord for a sec.
Yeah, no, we're
Okay.
good.
Yes, and Operation Blue Star. I think we should talk about that another time, but the Operation Blue Star. But yeah, but so there was a Sikh empire that ruled Punjab at that time, and they obviously also, you know, conquered Kashmir, and of course they did empire stuff, just like all these other empires did. They subjugated people, the Kashmiri people. So they treated them like serfs, had a two-tier justice system, yada yada. So same game over and
The
over.
Muslim and Dalit Kashmiris who made up a majority of the labor class. In
Yep.
1846, the British East India Company, here's your reminder again that they were a corporation, defeated the Sikh Empire in the First Anglo-Sikh War. The land of Kashmir and
Yeah, the Anglo-Sikh War.
the Kashmiri people were then sold by
Wow.
the British to the Dogras as a commodity. Gulab Singh, a Dogra who served as the ruler of Jammu in the Sikh Empire, chose to betray them and side with the British. The British
Nice meme. You
Nice.
sided with the British.
sold Kashmir to Gulab Singh for 7.5 million rupees, which is like $87,700 or something. Gulab
That's
Singh and
it.
his Dogra
Well, I mean, back then,
Back then, that
$87,000
would've
was
been
a
a lot
lot of money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
back then it's a lot of money.
I don't know how much rupees converted to pounds back then. I'd have to. Maybe there's a calculator.
imposed further extortionate taxes on the Kashmiris in an attempt to recoup that 7.5 million rupee investment they had paid the British. They also continued to aid the British demand for money, muscle, and resources, which meant that Kashmiris were forced to fight in both world wars as well.
Yeah. So people forget. I don't think people remember enough. Like, probably British people know. There's some like lefty Brits who know this. But a lot of the Allied forces from the British side were from India. Were from the
Yeah.
British Raj. India, Pakistan. From South Asia. So a
Yeah,
lot
it's
of
like,
South Asian.
Yeah, like the meme
Yeah.
is just like it's a lot of Punjab brigades or some shit, right? That's like the meme basically.
Yep. Oh, well,
Lots
not
of
just
different-
Punjab. You have, of course, Kashmiri. There were Kashmiri brigades. There were Nepali brigades.
Yeah.
And Assamese, like people over in Northeast India. So what's interesting is, so there is a paramilitary force in Northeast India called the Assam Rifles. The Assam Rifles are like these like almost like a national guard over there, basically like a regional national guard of that area. And so the Assam Rifles are like an offshoot of those brigades
Okay.
from World War II, and they are extremely well trained snipers. Like like they could probably match, if not best, an American sniper. Like no question, they probably could, because a lot of them have to are stationed up in like mountain regions. So you can imagine the level of rifle marksmanship they need to be stationed in mountainous regions. So and to guard a mountain border crossing. So like they exploited us for that, and of course a lot of these service members died under the British flag, fighting Nazis. It's really messed up, but yeah. American sniper in Vietnam versus Assamese sniper in Vietnam. No match. Yeah, the Assamese guy is gonna get the headshot. Yeah. Chris Kyle, can you stop it, Alex? If this were to happen, let these two. Yeah. No, not CS:GO. It'd be more like Tarkov, like way across the map with 100x zoom scopes. Yeah. But yeah. But yeah, I think people forget how many South Asian people served in World War II in both theaters, in the European theater and the Pacific theater. More so in Pacific, but even in the European theater as well.
Right.
Dogra rule was known as the worst phase of economic extortion
Oof.
for the Kashmiri people who were being squeezed by both the British and the Dogra rulers. Kashmiris were banned from holding land, making most
They
of
couldn't
them
even own
as
land.
peasants. Between 50 and 75% of all cultivated crops were sent straight to Dogra rulers and landlords, leaving the Kashmiris with no control over their own produce.
Can't even control your own food that you are
No
that
food.
was
You can't
grown
have
with your
any of
own
that.
blood, sweat, and tears.
No food. You can't have any of that. It's not allowed.
No. Yeah.
None of that.
Yep. This is what these empires did to these people.
The Dogras also reintroduced a system called Begar, which was a system of unpaid to low paid forced labor enforced by the Dogra state.
Indentured
This simple
servitude.
profession
True.
was taxed, but the Dogras reached even further, taxing Kashmiri Muslims who wanted to get married. This is already
Marriage taxes for Muslims. Wow.
ridiculous, but
Epic.
then the Dogras introduced the Zaildari tax, which, I kid you not, was a tax on the cost of taxation itself.
They tax taxes.
Taxing
Man, this is so
taxes.
British.
That's
This is
fucking-
extremely British.
Oh, there's a tax for that. Oi. You know.
Dude, they were doing just they were on
And it's either
Yeah.
you got a license for that or there's a tax for that.
license for that, bruv. Yeah. Literally, yeah, they were taxing taxes. Yeah, tax squared.
Tax of
Literally.
tax.
Crazy.
During this time, Kashmiri Pandits, the native Hindu Brahmin population who made up the businessmen and the landowner class, were better off as a result of the Dogra rulers and British favoring them.
And this is something that a lot of people in India don't miss because one, this has been removed from the textbooks. Thanks, Modi. You removed that from the textbooks. There's a lot of revisionist history and stuff in school textbooks now, in school curriculum. And trust me, I don't say this as somebody who's detached from the region. A lot of my aunts over in India are teachers. They are licensed teachers. They teach, middle school, primary school. My cousin actually teaches 11th and 12th grade. So he's in like the, vocational teaching. And then my grandfather was an economics professor his whole life. So yeah, my family has always been in education, and of course, I'm the one who came out a programmer. I'm the cringe one. So Daho's accusations of my cringe are accurate. But anyways, so a lot of this history got revised or erased. So when in India, a lot of people say where Kashmir belongs to the Hindus and and stuff. What they forget is that Hindus were given extreme privilege by not only the British, but by the Dogras, even by the Sikh Empire, and even by the Afghan and Mughal rulers. These people were given so much privilege. They were allowed to own land, property. They had access to most of the food, and they obviously, plundered and, enslaved all Kashmiri people, right? So these people are Kashmiri. Let's not get it twisted, though. These people are Kashmiri, but they have lived there for a long time. But they became this sort of They are upper caste. They're Brahmins, so they became sort of the powerful landowning class of the region, and everybody else is subject to them. So the problem is that when people say, "Oh, this only belongs to them," when people in India say this only belongs to Hindus, no Muslims should be allowed in Kashmir, it's like okay, you are advocating for the very same type of slavery and subjugation that was done 100 years ago, so it's and up to that point. So that's the thing a lot of people in India are missing, especially those idiots in the comments section.
Like in virtually all other parts of India in this era, they were allowed to own land, have upper class jobs, and to work as teachers and civil servants for the British.
Yep.
Remember, caste is simply a system of resource management and control that the Christian, British, and all other ruling parties, no matter if they were Hindu or Muslim, benefited by. I mean, the British literally had caste-based military units, so this isn't unique to Kashmir.
They had caste-based military regiments. Oh god.
Alright, so
This again-
this is the Dalits. This is the
Yeah. Yep.
We probably know. who
So
that
I mean,
is.
this happened. This was colony wide. I mean, this was across the whole Raj, right? This wasn't unique to Kashmir, but they did in Kashmir as well. Like, they did that in their own like. I guess they had like military forces and levies, right? I guess that like they would have levies, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And like other parts of India, created a situation where a large majority, in this case Muslims and Dalits, were landless peasants. intermarriage.
And this is the other thing too. People forget a lot of Hindus in the Kashmir Valley and mountain regions are lower caste. Most of them are Dalit or Shudra or middle caste, right? Most of them are not Brahmins. Brahmins are sort of like you're talking top 10, 15% of the population. Of the population of Hindus there, right? And of course, Kashmir today is majority Muslim. It's like 75% Muslim. So, but that said, yeah, Modi be like no history, only exams. So those are different acronyms for exams that 235 put in chat. So there are a ton of different exams for different professions and stuff. And well, IIT is not an exam. IIT is the top technical university in India. It's like the MIT of India, basically. Or oh no, those are all colleges. They're all college. Okay, my bad. Yeah. AIIMS is the medical college. NIT is it's also technology, I think. And then Jimpner, I forget. I think Jimpner is that the law? Is that law? I'm forgetting now.
The law. Are you fucking liberal?
Yeah, true. That's where all the liberals come out of. Yeah, NIT is engineering. Jimpner, I think, is medical. Okay, Jimpner is also medical, and AIIMS is also medical. So medical and engineering. There you go. But anyways, yeah. So people have to remember, like when they say, like when all those Hindutva nationalists will say Kashmir is for the Hindus, only for the Hindu nation, they will forget that a lot of the Hindus who are victims of what the Brahmins did to Kashmir, right, were also Hindu, like they were Dalits who were Hindu, right? So they forget this, and they'll leave them out of the picture, of course, because lower caste,
Yeah, who cares? So.
Marriage would only happen among the poor and landless. This was simply a reality all over the region and all across India. To further make things worse for the peasantry, the Dogra also replaced kosher, the native language of Kashmiris.
Now, this is not Hebrew kosher, but kosher. Kosher is so for those who don't know, so Kashmir, the name Kashmir, and I looked into this some more. It's kind of a Latinized name of the region. In the Kashmiri language, so they have these people. You have to remember, they don't speak Hindi or they'll speak Hindi and Urdu. They have their own language. Yeah, and it's written in multiple scripts. Of course, there is Kashmir. There's Perso. They write it in multiple scripts. There's a Kashmiri language, and they call it Kushur. Kushur is the name of the language. So, and of course, it's written here in 3 scripts. In sort of Arabic script, in Hindi script, Devanagari, and then Sharda script is sort of an older this is like an 8th century era script that still survives, but this is how a lot of people write Kashmiri, the Kashmiri language. So and as you can see, it is part of the Indo-Aryan family of languages. So yeah, a lot of these and it is an endangered language, unfortunately. Hindi is sort of taken over basically, but yeah, it is unfortunately a dying language, but it's still spoken in a lot of the regions of Kashmir, of what we call Kashmir today.
Is that similar to like Sanskrit? I think, right? That's also.
Well, so Sanskrit was a language of priests, right? Of like Buddhist and Hindu priests, and then what happened is like the way Hindi is sort of a modern language that came out of Sanskrit mixing with all the various North Indian languages and dialects. So they like formalized it. It's kind of like how Mandarin developed in China. It's very similar to how Mandarin developed. So the Sultan of Delhi actually basically mandated it. He started to impose this new Hindi language, which is sort of a modernization of all the North Indian languages, all the original languages like Awadhi and there's so many languages, Awadhi, Braj, Rajasthani, there's Bhojpuri, there's so many languages. There's spoken Bihari, there's so many languages. Right. Sanskrit is JavaScript. Okay, for the nerds in chat, so Hackerman's in chat. Sanskrit is JavaScript and Hindi is TypeScript. Because TypeScript is easier and Sanskrit is really friggin' confusing. Yeah, that's true. There's a good analogy, but but there was language imposition. So part of this, it wasn't just sort of a class, labor imposition, and of course, imposition of slavery, but there was also language imposition. So the Dogra, these upper caste Hindus, Namaste, Storigol, Salam, as we also say. So Narmade Har. Thank you, thank you. By the way, everybody, I'm gonna do a quick shout out in chat. I did shout out Jet Extremist earlier. Thank you for coming by. He is not an extremist. He is not a Kashmiri separatist. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
Um,
not that we know of.
not that we know of. Not that we know of,
Not that
folks.
we
You
know
never
of,
know with
folks.
the radical left.
You never know with these radical lunatic leftists. You never know, folks.
Yes, and yeah, everybody gets Story Girl a follow as well. She's from down under, actually, from Australia. So we do have quite a few Aussies here in the community, which I really like. Yeah, yeah, free Kashmir, Azad Kashmir, indeed. And yeah, we were watching a video with our friend Daharimba. For anybody who came in here, I'm going to shout him out again. We are with Daharimba. We've got him here on Discord. And yeah, we are watching a video on Kashmir from Rohan Davis.
Yeah,
So
I'm sitting my white ass down and listening again.
hopefully, let me turn you up a little bit more. Where are you? There you go. Let me turn you up all the way. There we go. No, you're good. You're good. I turned you up just a little bit. You're good. You're good. But yeah, everything's computer, folks. Yeah, everything's computer today. It's all computer.
Dude, it's all over computer.
um but yeah, we are covering sort of the history and the context around Kashmir because a lot of people don't have it right. And, whether it's in India or the West, there's a lot of unhinged brain rot around Kashmir, as you could probably imagine. People are calling for pogroms and like Gaza-like, bombing of Kashmir. I'm not joking, which I'm against. I'm Indian, but I'm against it. But yeah, people in India are calling for people are calling for like pogroms and genocide in Kashmir. It's really messed up.
I'm thinking this to myself, like all the Hindu nationalists. It's like, yes, finally we can do our own October 7th or some shit. And that's like the
I know, yeah,
playing in my mind, like
unironically.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. No, that's what they've been wanting for years.
With Urdu as the official language.
Yeah, so there was Urdu imposition of the imposition of the Urdu language, which is widely spoken in Pakistan and northern India. So the imposition of Urdu over the native language of Kashmiris, which is called Kashir, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the name of the region, by the way, I was going over this. The name of the region is actually called Kashir. So we say Kashmir in like modern languages, but in their own language, in the Kashmir language, it's known as Kashir. Okay. So there's no M in there. So yeah, just an interesting difference there. Yeah, Trump is like, Jarvis, calculate the reciprocal tariffs on microorganisms living in the Mariana Trench.
Jarvis, I need you to calculate the reciprocal tariffs on all the microorganisms that live in the Mariana Trench, folks. Very important. We need to get our money back, folks. Those microorganisms are taking way too much money from us. We've subsidized them to the tune of billions upon billions of dollars.
Okay, Dao's impression is clearly better. See, I'm American. I should have a better impression, but he's Canadian and he outdoes me. This is crazy.
Many people are saying that we should become the 51st state. Well, then what can we do, folks? We gotta make them the 51st state. What can we do?
God, all the Canadians are gonna catch you saying that, and they're gonna put their elbows up. Yeah. Anyways,
which made it harder for Kashmiri Muslims to break out of poverty and get jobs that required Urdu. This is merely an oversimplified history of the realities endured by the Kashmiri people since the 1500s. I encourage you to use this as a jumping off point and read. And if you were paying attention, you'd realize that this Hindu Muslim yelling that the government and...
Yeah, so these are some books. Again, I should probably get these too. I've read most of the reading I've done on Kashmir. Most of the reading I've done on Kashmir has been sort of just like, just sort of online. But yeah, these are Rohan's recommending these books, so I guess might as well check these out. So yeah, for anybody watching on YouTube later, yeah, these will be a couple of books: Colonizing Kashmir, State Building, Kashmir: The Case for Freedom, Kashmir in Conflict. So that way you have a better understanding of like who all the power players are in this, and also not only the power players, the Kashmiri people. What do they want? And yeah, I think majority of Kashmiri people say, hey, we don't want anything to do with any of these countries. We want our own self-determinations. They've had enough for way too long.
all its right-wing supporters are doing by baying for revenge and so on, it's
Mm.
all smoke and mirrors. It hides an obvious class divide, which is exactly
Mhm.
where the discontent stems from. The Kashmiri people have not been allowed to speak for themselves even after Indian independence. India became independent, but Kashmir did not.
Yep.
While mainstream Indian society in the north plays
Aha, there's that movie right there. I remember, yeah, this is the banner for it. Like on the billboards everywhere in India, they had this movie, The Kashmir Files. And yeah, this was a Islamophobic propaganda film. Um, that paints Kashmiri people in a really bad light and says they're anti-Hindu, they're Hindu phobic, they don't want Hindus to exist, they want to wipe us all out,
propaganda
etc.
films.
And they in that film they literally use the term Hindu genocide, which, hey, come on, who's doing that? Like,
Something that's real and happening, folks.
yeah. Okay, Jarvis, I need a tremendous plan, a big, bold, beautiful plan that all the best people will rave about, that they tell everybody else how good, very, very good, almost excellent, the best it is. All the most important people in Pakistan and India have already know just how tremendous I am at negotiation and making deals. Let's show them the art of the deal, folks. Abiki Bar, Trump Sarkar. Anyway, I was gonna...
Very important that
Do you remember that bit? When Trump visited India and he and Modi were speaking at some huge event at like a cricket stadium, and Trump tried to speak Hindi and he said "Abki bar, Trump Sarkar." Remember that what that means translated? All the Indians in chat know, all the South Asian people in chat know this. Basically what Trump was trying to say is Ab ki baar Trump Sarkar. So Sarkar means government. So from now on, we'll have a Trump government. We'll have a Trump, regime. Basically, that's what he meant.
Listen, folks, I got the best government. What can I say?
Yep. Yeah. Everybody. It was so funny.
It's true.
like the Kashmir Files and
But he
pacifist
meant
on
it.
the back
He meant it.
for how the traitorous Muslims must be dominated and so on. The peasant Kashmiris and their descendants who make up a majority of the area.
Yeah, look, these people, this is a real photo. Look how so this is the Jammu Kashmir police, I think. This is not it might be a combination of like the Indian military and the Jammu Kashmir police. Look how they detain kids. They're detaining a kid. They're making him sit down and grab his ears. Look at this.
Guys, I feel like I've seen this before. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Where have you seen this before? Seems sus.
Mm-hmm. Yep, where in the world have you all seen this before? I mean, there's multiple places you can name, but yeah,
Many
like,
people are saying this.
yeah. Oh, nice racer block, nice. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. You're you're learning about the cloud. There you go. Yeah, I mean they're dressed in riot police gear, and this kid's got nothing on him, and yet they're treating this kid as if he's like a suicide bomber or something. Like it's freaking ridiculous. Like they have riot gear on, they've got vests on. One of them has a what is that, an R91 rifle on his hip there. Like this is ridiculous. And I bet you in that rifle is not the less than lethal ammo. I bet that's got real ammo in it. Don't put it past them to do that.
We need to teach these kids a lesson.
Yeah.
It's very important. You need to tell them.
Yeah.
We need to show them what's up.
They strapped a man to the back of an arm. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised they strapped someone to the back of an army vehicle to arrest them.
Are not given any voice. Instead, it's like a wall of Indians who feel entitled to a place whose history they don't even know. History they aren't even taught. The struggle of the Kashmiri working class Muslims has been reduced to one of mere religious identity.
Yeah, and so this is obviously during protests, people will cover their faces to not get identified, face should recognize. But then if you put this picture up in India, a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, these young women, these girls are all terrorists. They're all terrorists in training or whatever." When all they were doing,
that's like the thing with the the laws for banning like the burqas and shit like that. Even like is it burqa? Not burqa.
Hijab.
Not just it's a niqab. The
Niqab.
The one that fully covers you. It's the same shit.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, the police can hide C4 better than that kid can in his T-shirt, right? It's like, again, and he's probably, again, not hiding that. So, yeah, but again, these women are protesting, and one of them is going to throw a basketball at a police officer who's about to shoot them. Like, this is self-defense. Like, this is like normal sort of protest and resistance that you see anywhere in the world, and yet it's being classified as terrorism because they're wearing hijab or whatever, niqab, right? It's just really messed up.
they were born into makes their anger and concerns invalid.
Mm.
After independence, things didn't get much better for the Kashmiris. The Dogra ruler Hari Singh still ruled over them and wanted to keep this kingdom separate from Pakistan and India. However,
Yeah, so the guy, so the Dogra ruler, the Brahmin Hindu ruler who ruled alongside the British in Kashmir, even post independence, wanted to maintain his power. Surprise, shocking, right? Surprising.
Whoa.
He wanted to maintain his power, separate of India and Pakistan, and keep ruling the way he was. Like he didn't want to step down.
Whoa, crazy. Who would have thought?
Yep, I know.
Pashtun tribesmen from Pakistan tried to invade the region,
Mm,
and that's when he agreed to join India in October 1947.
mm.
Nehru, India's first prime minister, sent troops to protect the region from a Pakistani invasion. Hari Singh signed an instrument
You see, this goes all the way back to independence.
to accede the state to the Indian Dominion. Article 370 granted Kashmir's autonomy in the Indian Union. This article was also added to the constitution as a direct outcome of the agreement with the Dogra king. However, this autonomous status was a farce, and the elections have been rigged in the region by Delhi, the capital.
But we're not shocked at all. Yeah, there is a lot. So, people say India is the world's largest democracy. And again, I keep correcting people. It is a veneer of democracy. It is a feudal society with a veneer of democracy. And this is yet another case of it. There is a lot of voter intimidation that happens in Kashmir, especially when India has elections, or even on the Pakistan side, when Pakistan has elections in the territory it controls. Either case, there's a lot of voter intimidation against candidates who want more Kashmiri autonomy and independence. Whoa, surprising, right? So, yeah, and a lot of these elections get rigged. There's a lot of voter intimidation at the ballot box. There's, there's a lot of, annulling of ballots, compromising of voting machines, all kinds of stuff going on. Basically, it's the Republicans' pipe dream of how to rig elections. Back in India, you had an Amar Chitra Karta comic book called Paramveer Chakra, and the first chapter was about the Indo-Pakistan War. The comic book's explanation is that Kashmir is a princely state under Hari Singh. So we were just talking about Hari Singh, right? The last ruler of Kashmir who didn't want to let it go after independence. Pakistan started attacking, and Hari Singh joined India for protect. And I bet it's like pro-India propaganda, right? Yeah, and anti-Muslim propaganda. I bet that was it. So yeah, I mean, and again, all of that factors into what's happening today. Like, it's all connected. This goes back a long time, and it is this. Okay, it is. I figured. Yeah, a comic book is comic books have often been used for propaganda. Like, I'm not surprised. It's about Indian soldiers who were given the Paramveer Chakra. The Paramveer Chakra, I think, is a medal, right? If I remember correctly. Yes, it's India's highest military honor. So this is like the Purple Heart of India, basically. So the PVC, the Paramveer Chakra, is India's highest military decoration. Yeah, this is the Purple Heart of India. So the wheel of the ultimate brave. That's what it means. So it's like this wheel type symbol. So. Anyways,
You should keep going.
Making democracy
Let me hydrate.
just a scam in Kashmir.
We're almost done.
India wanted to keep control of Kashmir.
I know
through
we're like halfway,
authoritarian
whatever.
rule, and the 70s and 80s
Yeah.
were a time of great discontent in the country. Landless peasants were rising from Bengal to the Red Corridor with the Maoist uprisings and more. So, to keep control over the Kashmiri people and their land, India needed to implement military rule. The government passed the Public Safety Act in 1978, which allowed the military to detain anyone, and I mean anyone, for any reason without.
Yeah, they were doing this as early as the 70s. The martial law. This region has been under like a different forms of martial law for a long time. This is almost 50 years ago.
For trial or conviction. This direct military rule, which for the Kashmiris was just a continuation of violence and exploitation that they had seen from the Dogra rulers, the Sikhs, the Afghans, and the Mughals, the people who were once colonized by the British not long ago had become full-fledged colonizers, using military force to kill or detain anyone who threatened their grip. Not even democracy itself would get in the way. In 1987, the Indian state was really trying to channel their inner America. They had invaded Sri Lanka to try and emulate their own Vietnam by meddling in the Tamil liberation struggle.
Yeah. So if you remember, when we talked, I think we've talked about Sri Lanka in the past, or just in chat or whatever. Like you've probably heard, like you obviously have probably watched Arun's documentary, which I highly recommend everybody watch. He's released part 1 of it already. But what was I going to say? So India had a hand. India had a hand in the genocide of Tamils, of Tamil people, because in the 1980s, late 80s and early 90s, they sent Indian peacekeeping troops, and I put heavy air quotes around peacekeeping troops to Sri Lanka, and they sided with the Sri Lankan army against the Tamil resistance, and of course Tamil people. So they participated in mass shelling and carpet bombing of northern Sri Lanka, or Yilam as they call it, as Tamil people call it, their own land. I'll check that out, but yeah, it's the Indian Air Force was complicit in that genocide. So I'll look at that after the video. Yeah, but the IPK, the Indian Peacekeeping Force, which I don't want to call them peacekeeping. They were doing pogroms. They were participating in the pogroms. So and that's actually,
guys, quote unquote.
Yeah, peace through strength, folks. Remember what Trump said: peace through strength.
Remember, folks, we have to maintain peace through strength. Very important.
Yeah, and Rajiv Gandhi. So what happened to Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi at the time in 1991? I think he was assassinated actually, because after the IPKF went to Sri Lanka, Rajiv Gandhi, the prime minister at the time, actually got yeeted because by the LTTE. The LTTE did it in the worst possible way. They strapped bombs to a kid. Yeah, that's horrible. And in Chennai, yeah, but they sent like a kid up to like go hug him or whatever, and then set off the detonator. That's what they did, and yeah, of course, yeah, the LTT were horrible for doing that, but they were, the intent behind it was, absolutely horrific, but they were doing it against the prime minister of a country who was complicit and, directly aiding and abetting a genocide in Sri Lanka. So,
it's like the same shit with the IRA.
The ends don't really justify the means. The ends don't justify those means through which they did that, but yeah, it's just
the PKK.
Yeah.
The PKK have also done the same thing before.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it wasn't the Luigi treatment. It wasn't like, okay, he 3D printed a pistol or whatever. No, this was, they sent a kid suicide bomber. So. Yeah, exactly, depraved ambience. Exactly. Like, and I do. Like, I'm not, like, some people will say, oh, you don't like Sri Lanka, what Sri Lanka army did, you must be pro LTT. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. See, this is the same conversation people have about Palestine, like, I don't like a lot of what Hamas do. And I also know that Hamas, to some degree, is controlled by Israeli money. We know this. They are not like, valiant warriors, they're not.
Here. You have to condemn Hamas.
Yeah.
Okay, we all hate Hamas.
True. Certain brands of it, yes. Exactly 235. That's what I'm saying. Is people, and I think this is the important thing that we learn from all of these situations, whether it's Kashmir, whether it's Palestine or Yilam or any of these places. The black and white thinking has to stop, because people will say, oh, well, that one militant extremist group is from that group of people, therefore all those people are a death cult. It's like, no, when was that ever the case? Okay, then I could make the same case about Americans. I could say, hey, look what the U.S. Army has done the past 75 years, throughout the world, ever since World War II. With some exceptions, I think, their interventions in Bosnia were good. Yeah, they killed some civilians, innocent civilians, but nowhere near what Milosevic was doing, a whole all-out genocide. So yeah, the U.S. intervening in that was like we had to do, like there was no way we couldn't intervene. And then the other one obviously is, and we should be helping them more, is Ukraine. We should be helping Ukraine a hell of a lot more than we are now, of course. And even under Biden didn't do enough
I love
to help
Clintonite
Ukraine.
thinking.
Yep. Yeah, we're still under Clintonite Democrats. Gotta love it. Hey, Roger, good to see you. Yes, we're talking about a controversial topic, but I think Kashmiri people deserve full self-determination. If India and Pakistan and China and even Western countries would stop intervening, and let the Kashmiri people have their own voice, you would actually get rid of all the terrorist groups as well. So, like, you would be solving all these problems if you stop the intervention and actually give Kashmiri people a full voice to say, okay, we want to run our own affairs, we want to be our own nation, whatever. Like, I think that's the first step. Like, that's the first step to solving all this, because the more you have intervention from India, from Pakistan, from China, from all these countries, the more you're going to stoke this type of extremism, the more you're going to have insurgent groups, the more you're going to have op groups like the TRF, which I suspect they're an op. Like, I don't see how they're not an op by one or the other side. Yeah, China is complicit. They supplied Sri Lanka with aircraft and weapons. Yep. And Israel also. Israel supplied a lot of aircraft to Sri Lanka. So surprise, surprise. So yeah, amazing. Yeah, so we're going over a video, and by the way, I'm gonna link to this in chat. And I know some people in India might take offense, and this is a very sort of hot button issue at the moment, and has been for a while. But I'm gonna post this in chat for anybody here who may disagree or may be like, oh well, you're just pro Pakistan or whatever, or pro, whatever. Please watch this video. It's actually really well done, well informed. Rohan goes over all the history and everything. He does this justice. He really does. So
The Indian military had invaded Jaffna in the north of Sri Lanka, where they
Yep.
essentially tried to disarm the LTTE, who were predominantly Hindus, by the way. A mixture of hubris and incompetence of the government and army at the time had caused the Indian military to lose complete control of the situation, leading to an almost 4-year-long, shameful, and unnecessary war with the Tamil Hindus of the region.
Yep.
The Indian military would go on to commit a vast amount of war crimes that most Indians today will not even know about.
Because, and the reason a lot of Indians don't acknowledge it, it's like, oh, that was then, this is now, or it's not in the textbook. It got erased, right? Because, the Modi government, they revise all the curriculum, they keep doing it, and so they don't want to make India look bad. It's just like in America, with textbooks, and I'm sure in Canada you may have that to some degree. Although I'm curious, in Canada, do they cover more about like what the sort of crimes against Indigenous people that Canada did? Do they do a good job of that, or do they still like are they kind of weird about it too? Because
it doesn't really get talked about all that much, to be honest.
That sucks.
Like, not really. Yeah, not really.
I think probably more
They
recently.
talk about some of the treaties and stuff in history, but otherwise, not really.
I'm sure there's more conversation about it in classrooms now because of like the revelations about the schools, right? About the schools that Indigenous children were forced in and basically like tortured in. Like it is, Raju. It is.
I mean, even then.
I mean, Hassan's here, so.
Not really. Like, it's one of those things where it's just like, It's not really kept up with all that much, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, even then, it's just like most people are pretty bad, generally speaking, in terms of like Indigenous issues in Canada.
I hope that improves, though. I feel like in Canada they should, hopefully they improve, because now a lot of that stuff's like well known. Hopefully, in Japan, they don't talk about Japan. Yeah, well, we all know what they did in what Japan did in World War II, right? Yeah, and what they were planning to do. Like, they were planning to literally like wipe China off the map. It was horrific. Yeah. But yeah. Okay, we're 14 minutes in. We got a few minutes to go.
Also, because it is rather inconvenient for the government's Hindu-Muslim binary politics. Watch Arun's
Mm.
work if you'd like to know more
Hey, Rohan, he's shouting out Arun. Look at that.
history.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
During
shout him
those
out too.
turbulent times in the late 80s, Kashmir was about to have another election. The military's occupation, forced disappearances of Kashmiris under the Congress government at the time was obviously not working. There were numerous reports that elections were violently rigged by physically capturing polling stations and not allowing large swaths of the population to vote.
Yep, they suppressed the vote by force in Kashmir, like during
Right.
this time, and they're gonna do it more. They're gonna keep doing it.
This hardline anti-democratic stance by the Indian
Mm.
military against the Kashmiri people would be enough to push many over the edge and turn to taking arms themselves.
Yeah, and then India's like, well, why are they getting so violent? These people and these people of these Muslims, why are they getting so violent? It's like you push them into it and you push them into a corner,
That's true.
and then you wonder why they're like, well, they get ticked off, like, well, we can't vote, we can't own land, we don't have any self-determination, we and of course, we get regarded as terrorists, etc. India is seen as an occupying force by Kashmiris, and rightfully so. India and Pakistan are both occupying force, and China as well. China, in fact, there's a region of Kashmir that China owns,
Mm-hmm.
or is disputing, and they lay claim to it. I should say, not owns, but they lay claim to it. It's a region of Kashmir. It's the eastern flank of it. Sort of this eastern flank here. I don't know if you can see that dotted line. That's called Aksai Chin. So this is like sort of bordering Tibet,
Yeah, they
bordering
want the glacial
Tibet.
water. That's why.
Oh yeah, they want those glaciers. Yes, Aksai Chin, and then of course, it's next door to Jammu and Kashmir, and then of course there's a part of Kashmir called Gilgit Baltistan, which is claimed by Pakistan. Yeah, Aksai Chin is super high up, like it's one of the highest places in the world. But yeah. I mean, you see the elevation of these mountains, 21,000 feet, 20,000 feet. Like this is the roof of the world. And even in Kashmir, there's mountains like if you see the heights, like 18,000 is the lowest. Like this is super high up. Like it's unbelievable how high these mountains go. But yeah, most of these mountains are over 20,000 feet.
Any and all protests.
Yeah, Ladakh is
with
disputed between
military
India and China.
pressure,
Yep.
not just tear gas
Mhm.
or rubber bullets, but also live ammunition. You think governments would know by now
They're
that
using
if
they use live ammo to suppress votes.
We're gonna
you
shoot
make
them.
peace
Yikes.
impossible for a people, then you make conflict, violence, and resistance inevitable.
Hell, this is a base sign. There you go. Based.
True.
Yep. So true, King. So true.
By giving the Kashmiri people no out, no release in the pressure valve, the military had lost control of the people. Even teachers and regular people who had routinely seen their family members harassed, killed, tortured, or worse had decided that
Raju, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian. My whole family is Christian. Yeah.
enough was enough. If they weren't even going to get the right to vote, India didn't leave them with a choice. The Indian military's failure in basic governance naturally also led people to radicalize even further, and it ironically empowered Islamist extremists who were once sidelined by Kashmiris seeking a secular state with self determination to also.
So this is a good point. A lot of people who are in Kashmir, and even a lot of the nonviolent organizations, they don't want to work with the insurgent groups, with the terrorist groups. I wonder why. Probably because the terrorist groups are fomenting all of this and not allowing the people to have self-determination.
I mean, it's
So
that-
anybody in India,
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, go
it's
ahead.
it's a JFK quote. You
Yeah.
know, like you make
Mhm.
peaceful resistance impossible. You make violent resistance inevitable.
Mhm.
It's the same.
Thank you, Dupre. Bahut shukriya. Thank you. Yeah, I try to, it's I'm the kind of I like when I say I'm Christian, I'm just to I guess answer the question quickly. I am more of a liberation Christian. Atheist means no faith, if you fear of no faith. But if I'm a Christian, if you're a Christian, sorry, Raju, I know English is not your first language, but as a Christian, I'm more of a lefty type of Christian, liberation oriented. Even some aspects of anarchist Christianity, although Christian anarchism's kind of weird. I'm gonna admit it. There's some weird there's some weird tendencies in that crowd. But yeah, no worries. It's just try to explain. Imagine if Kashmir had its own version. I mean, they kind of do with the TRF, but the TRF is like an op group, right? They're not like because they're very heavily like Pakistani nationalists. Like they want Pakistan to have full dominion of the region. So they're not for autonomy at all. So that's the problem with the TRF. And the resistance front, come on, that's an op.
come to prominence. If India had
That has to
managed
be an
this
op.
region better by letting Kashmiris govern themselves, then this situation where 27 innocent men lost their lives wouldn't have happened. In retaliation, Kashmiri rebels began to assassinate the unelected governors and administrators. And I have to mention this, regardless of religion, because most Indians unfortunately don't understand that this isn't just about religion. This is about military occupation.
Ding 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 ding.
Yeah,
Ring the bell. Jingle. Where are my keys? Jingle your keys.
Yeah, they don't want the people to be there, basically.
This is about military. This is about military occupation, national control of resources. Again, what resources does Kashmir have? Glaciers, water, all the river valleys of South Asia, their sources are here in Kashmir, or a lot of the sources are here. I mean, there are sources in Nepal as well. But glaciers, you have trade routes, right, with China and other superpowers. You have the potential for control of airspace. You've also got obviously resources. You're talking very valuable exports like wool, tree nuts, fruits, all kinds of really, really valuable exports as well. So countries have been fighting over this region for centuries for a reason. Yeah, or for many reasons, rather.
The effects of people virtually having no rights and not allowing people a voice in how they are governed.
Yeah.
Things had come to a boiling point, and as a reaction, the Indian government had deployed the CRPF, who on January 21st, 1990, committed one of the worst massacres in Kashmiri history. A group of unarmed peaceful protesters had gathered at the Gaukadal bridge, and the Indian military just opened fire without warning. Every Indian textbook has a picture and a chapter about the Jallianwala Bagh massacre.
So, let me explain what's going on here. So, there was a massacre of protesters in 1992 in Kashmir. And what he's saying is there was a massacre by the British that the British did against people in Punjab, specifically Sikhs in Punjab in 1919. There was a 1919 or 1909? 1919, I think. During the British Raj era, and of course this is in Punjab. So the British ordered this is a painting of it, but a depiction of it, but they just mowed people down with rifles.
Right.
The British police forces basically did that. And so every Indian textbook, history textbook in the school has this in it, but they will never ever talk about what happened in Kashmir in the 90s. They will never talk about it, or they will talk about it from a revisionist perspective and say it was for national security.
Yeah,
so, there you go.
But most Indians probably don't know about these kinds of senseless killings that the Indian military inflicts on our own people, even up until recently. Bodies covered the bridge, and an estimated 50 to 60 innocent people were killed. Incidents like this,
now compare that again. I don't want to compare because any human life loss is invaluable, priceless, etc. But the Indian government and the Pakistani government equally, both governments are making a massive stink about a terrorist group, which they should be, unaliving 27 people, innocent people. But then they just unalive people on a regular basis, 60, 70 at a time. What gives? They're concerned. They're just concern trolling, and they are also not addressing the root cause. Right? They're not addressing the root cause of why there are insurgent groups, why there are ops and stuff happening, in this region. They're the reason. They are enabling both of those countries are enabling all of this. So, and of course, offshoots of the British Raj, right? And partition, right? This is an offshoot of partition in a way. We saw those. Rohan had that, posted some of the comments, and there was that 27 equals 27,000 comment. Yep.
The Indian army failed in basic governance, laid the groundwork for events like the Kashmiri Pandit Exodus in the same year, when 100,000 Kashmiri Brahmins left Kashmir. Many of them also were killed by insurgents. This event, as we know, has been used again and again by the Modi government to play the Hindu-Muslim binary card.
Which is, if you think, do I support any of the country? I don't support the Indian government. In fact, I don't put my support behind any government. You know, I would put more of my support behind governments that are democratic, that are like social democracies or more autonomous. Like, I like a lot of what Northeast Syria, Rojava is doing, even though they are not perfect. Well, I don't want to say Luigi treatment because again, so what happened is, and this was in the early 90s. This is when a lot of those Kashmiri Pandit Hindus they left because of all the insurgency, and of course, a lot of this was stirred up by the Indian and Pakistani military equally so. And so a lot of this, you know, because of this martial law and everything, it stirred it all up. And so now, yeah, I don't really support the Indian government. I don't like them, you know, down with Modi and, you know, all them. But I also recognize, yeah, the Indian government is not a democratic government in any way. Like, we need like a whole that whole system needs a reboot. I'm sorry, it needs a whole reboot, but not in the way Sangis want it. Not in the way that like Hindutva wants it. Like Hindutva, they want to reboot it into like a Hindu empire that's like super tyrannical. They basically want Nazi Germany 2.0, which I don't want that, obviously. So I want the opposite of that. So. But yeah, what I'm saying is that the Indian government has not done well, even to Kashmiri Pandits or Kashmiri Hindu Pandits, who, you know, they are misusing their suffering. You know, they were killed by insurgents. They are misusing those people suffering in this sort of, they are misusing it to play this Hindu-Muslim binary card. So you see that, right? They are basically being anti-Hindu in a way because the Indian government is saying, "Oh, this is you know, this is our reason to do more religious division and push the Muslims out." Like it's very dehumanizing to the people who lost their lives in the 90s. So I know, yeah, or anti-national, yeah, I know, yeah, exactly, 235, yeah. It kind of feels like a depraved. Yeah, it is 20th century 2.0. It just this stuff keeps rhyming and repeating, unfortunately.
A badly made propaganda film was also made about it, using the atrocity for pure political gain.
Yep.
Completely ignoring the obvious boomerang effect.
This is a great video. I like Rohan's stance here.
Upon itself. The interesting thing about the Indian commenters online who are literally calling for drone strikes right now, and more policing and militarization.
Yeah, I have been to Kashmir. Kashmiris are always in favor of Pakistan.
That's true.
And then the guy in all caps, army, jets, drones.
That's probably true.
Is that it's already been tried. It's not working. And
hey, bye. Okay, see you around.
The reality here is that the governments involved have done a terrible job ensuring the safety of civilians. Doesn't matter if it's the corrupt Pakistani government or the Indian government. I'm just talking from the point of view of an Indian citizen myself. Kashmir is already the most militarized zone in the world.
And I'm also saying this as as someone who was born in India. You know, obviously, well, I'm a U.S. citizen now, but I was an Indian citizen for most of my life. So yeah, I agree. Yeah.
In 2023 itself, the Modi government deployed 10 additional military companies into the valley. In 2019, India moved 50,000 military personnel into the region.
50,000 more.
To add to
Jeez,
700,000 military personnel already stationed there. This alone should be embarrassing for the Modi government, that even those numbers and Indian taxpayer money has done nothing to stop the unrest in Kashmir, Manipur, or in Bastar. Not only this, the Indian army has seized over 54,000 acres of land in the
54,000 acres of land.
That's a lot of land.
I wonder who they seized it from.
It couldn't be anyone in particular.
And after the abrogation of Kashmir,
it couldn't be Kashmiri people, you know.
The Modi government has also put an end to a requirement instituted in 1971, under which Indian occupying forces in Kashmir had to get a special certificate in order to take hold of land in Kashmir. The Indian state has also made changes in several acts and laws to permit the construction of permanent structures on Indian armed forces encampments for troops and their families. as well
Mm-hmm.
as on areas marked as desired or strategic by the Indian military themselves.
Now, yeah, this is,
What does that mean?
um, yeah,
I don't know what they mean by that.
mili- yeah, what other country is doing that right now? Yeah, yeah,
We just want this.
hmm,
This land is just desirable to us. I don't know. Like it just looks kind of
yeah,
wholesome and epic, bro.
yeah. No, this is the same settler colonialism. So,
Yeah.
yeah, of course, yeah, yeah. This video lays it out very, very well. I mean, again, Raju, I would tell you this as somebody who grew up outside of India. You might say I'm anti-national, whatever. When you read the actual history of what happened in this region and look at it from perspective of a Kashmiri person, the people who live in that valley, whether they are Hindu, Muslim, Christian, whatever, when you look at it from their perspective, you will understand that they want self-determination, and neither India nor Pakistan nor China is giving them self-determination. None of these countries want that. These countries want to do just like India. Well, you know history, but what is written in the NCERT textbooks, right, in the Indian curriculum, is a revised history. They will hide things, they will omit things from the textbook, and they will not actually show you the real history, right? So if you think what the Indian government is giving you is all the truth, then my friend, you are not immune to propaganda. None of us are. Where's the meme for the "you're not immune to propaganda"? I
Yeah,
should
we
probably
need the,
show
we,
that.
we need the good view.
Yeah, but again, the you don't trust anyone. Well, I mean, you should at least understand the history from the history that's been documented by historians around the world, not just in India but around the world. You know, historians have been documenting this for a long time, and of course, we have to talk about the history before the British, right, with the Mughals and the Afghans and Sikhs and you don't trust humans? Well, I mean, then how are we going to build a better world if we don't trust humans? Right? I think we have to, at some point, you know, trust in, one another against the oppressive powers, against states, against tyranny, against corporations, against all these forces that oppress us, right? So that's sort of my point of view. Now, again, I know a lot of Indians who are going to say, "Oh, he's a Naxalite, he's a Maoist or whatever," which I'm not. I lean more in sort of libertarian socialism and anarchism, which anarchism's the final form of that. But anyways, yeah, most people are actually pretty poggers. Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
What
like
is the extent?
Sorry. Then we'll finish the video.
yeah, generally speaking, most people, if you like want to look at like an individual sort of like perspective or whatever, if we want to do that whole thing, most people, generally speaking, if we're talking about like broader society, they're not going to be bad. There's always going to be people that are malicious. Okay, there's always people that are evil. Like that's just how it is, right? Like
Yeah, and
not
there's
so much-
incentives for
yeah,
that as well.
there's also incentives by current like societal structures, obviously. Generally speaking,
Yeah.
if we're talking about like most people are generally speaking, they just want to do their own thing and just try to get by in most days. Let's be quite honest here. So does
Yeah.
that mean that those people are like bad or whatever? No, not really. Most people that generally tend to be bad are people who have control over vestiges of power. A lot of people who have levers over the state. A lot of the people who have levers over a lot of money. That's really about like if we're talking about who is good or bad. If we want to sort of go with like this like I don't know simplified distinction of good and evil. Like most of the people throughout history, if we want to talk about it, possess like power. That doesn't mean there aren't good people who have also possessed power before. There have been, obviously. Like I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, well like everyone's just like bad forehead. Like anyone like power should be fundamentally always questioned. Uh, Generally speaking, that is the case. But like for the most part, if we're talking about like average sort of humans, most people just want to get by with their day. There's always going to be one bad apples or something, and it's just like, I mean, it just simply is what it is. Absolute power, absolutely corrupts. So,
Again, I don't know what you mean by existence is subjective. What we're talking about is so a lot of people who get into power, they get into it for bad reasons. Subjugating people under their own power, getting wealthy, getting power and influence. But Yeah, and 235, you bring up a great example. A lot of India's sort of laws are really weird. Like, for example, in a lot of places, you cannot kiss your partner in public. It's crazy, right? In not only Western countries, but throughout the world, it is very common for people who are, partners or spouses to kiss and hold hands or hug or whatever. It's normal. But in India, they actually have laws on the books. Now, they're not always enforced, like usually not, but in more conservative areas, they heavily enforce these rules and they arrest couples who are being too immoral in public, which is ridiculous. And up until recently, they never had kissing in Bollywood films. They would always pan the camera away or whatever. Like, that's how ridiculous some of these rules are. So that's an example of, you could say, well, you should always follow the law. Well, what if the law says, say, for example, in Kashmir, what if the law in Kashmir says that you can't speak your own language? Then what? If you can't speak Kashmiri, you have to speak Hindi. Aapko Hindi bolna chahiye. Kashmiri is a terrorist language, Like, what if that was a law? That's not manners. How is that manners? I'm sorry. That's not manners. I'm sorry. Yeah, showing affection is immoral, but the Indian army gunning down 70 people at a peaceful protest is manners. Okay, nice meme.
of this colonization
Nice
project.
meme, dude.
And why does it sound
Oh, and by the way, same with Pakistan. What Indian government is doing to Kashmiris right now, Pakistan is doing to Baloch people, and I care about that too. By the way, free Balochistan as well.
exactly like what Israel has been doing? So if you're here to join in on the gross 2000s era Islamophobia hate train and call for more violence in the region and use this to justify more violence against other Indian Muslims as revenge,
Yeah, like don't make out in public. Like there's a point where you have to get a room, but yeah, like one kid. No, that's just if you come to Western countries, you see people they just do like it's just like quick or whatever. Like it's nothing. Like it's like a little thing, and people don't really think about it. So yeah.
across India who have nothing to do with this event, you are misguided. What we need to be focusing on is why
Listen
does
to the
this
video. You're not
in the first
listening.
place, the specifics of what it is that the Indian military is doing in Kashmir that is forcing the people to even need to form resistance groups. What are they resisting? This isn't a Bollywood movie. This is real life with
Yeah, and this is see Raju. I know you've probably seen a lot of movies like this, right? There's a lot of movies about like, Indian army in Kashmir and defeating those evil Muslims in Pakistan or whatever, right? You like that's how they're portrayed. But then what you don't understand is that those movies are propaganda. They're made to give you a narrative they sell you a narrative that India is the most moral army in the world. Where have we heard that one, right? So they're made to sell you that narrative, right? Basically an Israel-like narrative. So what I'm saying is that the you have to see it from the perspective of people, the millions of people who live in the region, Kashmiri people, and that includes Hindus, that includes Muslims and Christians and any other minorities in those regions. You have to see it from their perspective and the oppression they have faced for almost 1,000 years, if not longer than that, as we've learned in this video. Like that oppression has been there since like the 1200s at least. So yeah, or even longer. Like you talk about what the Afghans did, the Mughals did, right? What the Sikh Empire did. Which again, that's not a slight against the Sikh religion. That's just the empire was brutal. All empires are brutal and murderous. So, and of course the British Empire. And now, of course, you have the capitalist, democratic state of India. Democratic, I put in air quotes. This capitalist democratic state of India who are doing basically military occupation and settler colonialism of Kashmir. Pakistan is also doing it. China is also doing it. All three at once to Kashmiri people. So, no, I'm on the side of Kashmiri people. Okay, understand that's a difference. I'm not on the side of Pakistan or the TRF or any other insurgent group. I'm on the side of what Kashmiri people want. Okay, so understand that there's a big distinction between all of those. Yeah, it's always power. Religion is sort of the veneer, sort of the, it's sort of the, it makes it something honorable, basically, right?
Well,
it takes something brutal and makes it honorable.
I mean, like Marx
right?
said, religion is the opium of the people, right? Like its purpose is to just be like,
Yeah, and
uh,
what, but when he,
with
when he
like.
said that, he wasn't talking about practice of faith. Like
Well, yeah, no,
I
he's
don't think
talking about like the
no.
institutions, obviously.
Yeah, the institutions, and then of course the justification through the institutions of brutality, of tyranny,
Yeah, yeah.
of of capitalism and all that stuff. So, anyways, 1 minute, let's go.
Of people. So the question is, what is the Modi government going
Yeah.
to do next? And will the Indian people stop this unending game of the government? This Hindu-Muslim game that
And not only Indian people, I think again, Rohan is targeting is sort of he's sort of targeting this at an Indian audience, but also the people of Pakistan. I think Pakistan is also equally as much at fault with what they've done in Gilgit-Baltistan and the regions they occupy of the Kashmir region, right? So they are equally as responsible and to some degree foment the terrorism that happens there, right? The terrorist acts that happen there. But again, like I said, all these countries that try to encroach upon this place and all the empires that have encroached upon them, people in Kashmir, the people in Kashmir have had no self-determination. For centuries, they could not even own the land that they worked on, right? They worked on the land, they produced the food, blood, sweat, and tears. They were treated like slaves, all both Hindu and Muslim for hundreds of years, for centuries. They cannot own land. Even under the British, they cannot own land. Only the Dogra Brahmins could own it, right? And they got 75% of the food that these people grew for them. So yeah, when you say, well, Kashmiris don't deserve anything, they deserve everything. Okay, they deserve full self-determination of where they live, just like any other group of people in the world. You talk about Armenia, right? What's happening in Armenia? I think Armenians deserve full self-determination, but their own leadership is corrupt and kind of in bed with the Azerbaijan government. And of course, Azerbaijan is doing settler colonialism against Armenians. So, yeah, and Russia is, of course, part and parcel of that as well. So, yeah. But yeah, I try on this channel what I try to do in addition to just gaming and stuff, and I think Daho, you do that as well. By the way, give a shout out to Daho Rumba as well. And I'd like to open it up to any questions you might have. But since I've been doing a lot of yapping, and you've been doing a lot of Factorio in the background and sort of listening in.
Sure. I mean, I've sat my white ass down and I've listened. I mean, we all know, like, broadly speaking, what has this always all been about? Same stuff. Maintenance of hierarchy, power, control, and resource acquisition. This.
Yeah.
Same shit. Like, there's nothing really much else to say here. Broadly speaking, I mostly just wanted to come here and be like, oh, I want to learn a little bit like more about the history and whatnot. Like, just get like an idea, get like a vibe, get like a sense to see what's like going on. And it's just like, oh, okay, I get it now. It's I have like a better idea. It's like, yeah, it's all the exact same sort of shit that I've talked about before. Like, yeah, the hierarchy, control, it's all the same stuff basically.
And we see it throughout the world in different forms and for different historical reasons. But yeah, it is the parallels are all there with like hierarchy, control, empire, ethno-nationalism, all that kind of stuff it's like the same everywhere.
Yeah, it's all there.
Yeah. And so I think what we're going to do, I want to show you a little bit of brain rot. So this is a guy, this Unk right here, who is probably one of my least favorite. If you thought Vivek Ramaswamy was bad, you haven't met this guy. This guy's name is Anand Ranganathan. His name's a little hard to say, but Anand. This guy is very pro Modi. He's like he's like Modi's #1 fan, basically. And he is sort of this political author and propagandist, basically. His books sell on Amazon India. They're like some of the best sellers. So in this one, and this is kind of half in Hindi, half in English, but he's talking about, look at the caption, demographic changes in Uttarakhand and Himachal, which are two of the mountain provinces that are just south of Kashmir. So he's talking about demographic changes. What does he mean by that? Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Modi's #1 fan is not Nirmala and Jay Shankar. Nah, this guy's right up there with Jay Shankar. Jay Shankar is the foreign minister, by the way, from India. But yeah, this guy's right up there with them. Yeah. So anyways, brace yourself for the brain rot. Oh, is it muted? Sorry. Okay, it's half in Hindi, half in English, but he says it in English, so it should be clear enough.
लेकिन उसमें जो डेमोग्राफिक शिफ्ट हुई है, उसमें जो 700,000 कश्मीरी हिंदूज अभी नहीं है वहाँ पे जो होने चाहिए, उसके बारे में तो कुछ करो ना.
Yeah, so what he's saying is the government should put back the 700,000 Kashmiri Hindus who lived in the region before. He's Tamil. He's Tamil too. Oh no, God. There are a lot of cool people from Tamil Nadu, but he's not one of them.
अपने
Damn.
जो हमारे हाथ में जो कश्मीर है, that has to be addressed. पॉक तो बाद में आएगा, क्योंकि सूनर और लेटर जब तक आप डेमोग्राफिक शिफ्ट को एड्रेस नहीं करेंगे ना, आप ये प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं कर सकते. अभी देखिए जम्मू में हो रहे हैं टेरर अटैक्स, वो सारे कश्मीर से जम्मू में आ गए, सारे टेररिस्ट वगैरह.
Yeah, why are there terrorist groups there, dude? Why
Yeah, I
are there
wonder.
terrorist groups?
Could
You
be
never
a-
answered that question. You just say, "Well, they're just terrorists," and
Oh,
they
terrorists.
Qur'an-
There, you gotta
you
kill
know,
them, right? Gotta get rid of the
Yeah.
terrorists. Terrorists are stinky and bad. It's like, why are they
I mean,
there?
he's one step away from holding up a Quran and saying, "Well, this is where they learned it from, brother." Yeah.
Sure, like literally like Tommy
Or
Robinson tier shit.
I know. Yeah, like Tommy Robson in the UK is like, "This book is full of violence." He's about to do that.
अरे उत्तराखंड में डेमोग्राफिक शिफ्ट हो रहा है एट अ मैसिव स्केल.
There's a massive scale. It's becoming Muslim he's saying it's becoming Muslim at this like this astronomical rate when it's not. It's clearly not. Islam, for those who don't know, people in India think Islam is like quickly taking over the country like COVID-19. Like they will literally say things like that, which is bad, horrible, obviously. But Islam is still only 20% of India's population. Like people think, oh, there's 200 million, whatever, how many, like almost 250 million Muslims in India, but that's only 20% of the population.
Yeah,
It's out of 1.5 billion.
1.5 billion people in the country. But it's like, oh, there's 20%, guys. It's like it's the stupid fallacy that conservatives do all the time, where they'll
Yep.
use per capita and like raw numbers to like suit particular narratives like all the time.
Yeah, it's great replacement type stuff. Yeah, he and Faraj would get on with it. Oh, absolutely. I think he probably loves Nigel Faraj. I wouldn't surprise me if they made out either. So
जम्मू कश्मीर में मुस्लिम मेजॉरिटी स्टेट है. There is one mosque for every 1300 Muslims. In Himachal, that is 2% Muslim population, there is one mosque for every 300 Muslims.
okay, what is that statistic? Again, he's just using the statistic. He's saying, well,
very random and spurious.
So it's like, oh, but there's one mosque for every 300 Muslims in Himachal Pradesh, but they're only 2% of the population. Okay, how many mosques are there? Again, the numbers don't compute. Kashmir obviously is majority Muslim for a number of reasons. One is, conquest and just conversion over time, right? But then Himachal Pradesh is vastly majority Hindu. It's like 90 something percent Hindu. And it's like 2 or 3% Muslim. But he's saying, well, there's a mosque for every 300 Muslims there. That's terrorism. It's like, no. There are way more mosques in Kashmir versus Himachal Pradesh. So, and again, he's just misusing numbers here. He's saying, well, there's a mosque for every 1,300 people in Kashmir, and there's a mosque for every 300. And, the numbers, the fraction is bigger in Himachal, so it's worse.
The numbers, Mason. What do they mean, Mason? Mason, the numbers. And it's just like,
yeah, yeah, and so what's the problem? Again, and it's funny because you'll hear the same people in India, the same liberals in India. This guy's not a liberal, of course. He's a far right fascist, but you'll even hear liberals do this kind of thing in India. They'll like, they'll use these talking points and say, "Well, I'm in favor of all religions living together," but and then they do this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
ये पता था किसी को? नहीं, लोग नहीं सोचते. Politicians, you can't trust them, and I don't blame them after a while.
You can't dude, you are the number one enabler of BJP politicians. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
I told you, I gave the reason. Something has to be done that is above the political entity.
Something has to be done. Well, that's something. I will show you what something has to be done that's above the political entity. Okay, Uncle G. Okay, Uncle G. What are you gonna say? What is Taoji gonna say? What I'm gonna say here? So this is a recent podcast on ANI. By the way, ANI is Asia News International. I think it's a super like far right nationalist news org that poses as like a CNN of India, basically. Which India, we have CNN in India. It's called CNN 18 or whatever. But we have a CNN channel in India. But ANI is like our own sort of domestic version of it as well. Yes. Yinta Naya Serpala Adikanum. I probably mispronounced that, but I don't know. That's probably you're probably making fun of Anand there in Tamil, but I'm trying to pronounce it. Which I probably mispronounced half of it, but anyways. But this is what he said on a podcast recently on ANI's own news podcast, and this got like this blew up on Indian social media. Like people were cheering this guy on. I want you to hear what he says, and this is a tie-in with sort of global geopolitics.
Mhm.
Oh, I muted the tab because I didn't want it to play during our other video. Cringe.
Shil Pandit and other Kashmiri Hindus also.
Okay, here we go.
So it can erupt at any moment. If you haven't rehabilitated 7 lakh Kashmiri Hindus, as Sushil Pandit and other Kashmiri Hindus also say, all this money, millions, perhaps billions that has been minted out of 16 million tourists going there, is all mostly going to terrorists.
So he is alleging that the millions of dollars made by hotels and tourism in Kashmir, which, by the way, a lot of Indians who are Hindu go to Kashmir for vacation. They go there in the summertime. Why? Because the rest of India is it's boiling hot.
Right.
So they go up to Kashmir to cool off basically, and to get a vacation home and stuff. Yeah, don't you support the free market? And he says, well, those millions are going to terrorism. Yeah, sure.
It's the same shit with like Israel when they say like, oh man,
Yep.
look at all this aid that's being sent in. This is going all to Hamas. How many
Well,
spoilers? Or some
You
shit.
mentioned Israel. Watch what he says next.
Yeah, well,
And then this whole insurgency and whatever you may call it, terrorism, militancy, or whatever face you may like to address it as, is going to continue.
Why is it going to continue? What factors are causing this to continue? Maybe it's the continued occupation by multiple countries of the land Kashmiris have never been able to have self-determination on. Is this so hard, dude?
You need an Israel-like solution to Kashmir. कम से कम, you see, no,
That is the worst suggestion.
Even that guy across, by the way, the guy across from him, this guy's an idiot. This is Abhishek, Abhijit Iyer Mitra. This guy is even more far right than Anand. Okay, if you want to know how far right this guy is,
that guy said
he
it's
is-
a bad idea. That's funny as fuck, dude.
yeah, but he's anti-Semitic. The thing with Abhijit, the guy in the green kurta over here, he's anti-Semitic. He doesn't like it. Like he's
Yeah,
sort of
that's-
like Candace
okay,
Owens
that-
type anti-Semitic, where he's like
yeah, so
quote
that's
unquote
why,
for Palestine.
because he's
Yeah.
just like, oh, I just hate Israel, brother.
Yeah, no, he literally says stuff about Jewish people. He literally quotes Hitler and stuff. But anyways,
Okay.
yeah, even he says this is a bad idea.
Worst suggestion.
the fact that Israel has not been able to quote unquote solve it is not because Israel not acting to solve it or Israel not doing things that should be done.
I wonder why it's not working, dude. I wonder why they're not able to do it. I wonder why they're not able to do Greater Israel. I wonder why.
If, for example, 7 lakh Israelis were driven out of their home,
So 7 lakh, sorry, Indian counting. Lakh is 100,000 in Indian numbering. It comes from Sanskrit, but basically it's this. Lakh is 100,000. So 7 lakh is 700,000. Yeah.
and Israel had not acted, you would have said, हाँ, solve नहीं किया. Lekin Israel has catered for its people who were hard done by. We haven't.
Hard done by. Talk to a Palestinian, bro.
Hard done.
Maybe talk to them. Yeah, and talk to and he'll say, well, they're all Muslim, they're all terrorists. I'm like, no, there are a lot of Palestinian Christians and Arab Jews. Like, what are you talking about? Like, talk to them. Talk to the Christians and Jews in Bethlehem. Like, maybe you'll learn something. But this uncle never learn.
It's as simple as that. Despite that, yes, there may never be a solution because of the ideology of the people who hate Israelis and the ideology of the people who hate Hindus. That's irrespective. What I'm saying is, have we taken the right decisions? We haven't.
What is
The right decision is carpet bomb. The right decision is pogroms,
personally,
genocide.
We need,
Yeah.
We need to turn
Yeah.
Kashmiris into mulch. It's very important. We just have to. If there's Hindus there, whatever. They're in Kashmir, which means they're, I don't know, they're probably degenerate or something. Just kill them. Whatever. Fuck it. That's
Yeah, well, especially lower caste Hindus, but then they'll say, well, all the pundits who had to leave in the 90s will bring them back and resettle it. I mean, this is like who's that one woman in the settler who's that one woman? She was on the Louis Theroux documentary that just came out. Who's that one woman in
she's a demon, isn't she?
Oh, she
Like,
is hellspawn.
Wretched.
Yeah, Daniela Weiss, I think that's her name. Yeah, this guy is talking like Daniela Weiss. I'm like, dude, you got your talking points straight from her, and you're just changing the name of the place. Instead of saying Huzzah, you're saying Kashmir. Okay, funny, dude.
View on Kashmir.
Very
Do you
funny.
have the same kind of pessimism that Anand has,
See,
But even she doesn't like what he said.
or my
NDA
optimism?
2 or BJP 2 did a lot of good stuff in the sense scrapping 370, attacking the ecosystem, the financial networks. Not enough.
So what this Unk is saying, which he's posing himself as less crazy as Anand as the other guy. So this guy, what he's saying is that, Indian government, Modi did good because he scrapped 370, Article 370 of the Constitution, which grants Kashmiris autonomy, a lot of autonomy. Of course, it's not perfect, but it grants them some autonomy in some aspects. He is praising Modi for scrapping that and saying taking control of the region instead, and of course saying, well, you were attacking all the financial networks of the terrorists. It's like, okay, Kashmir makes a lot of money on tourism, okay, and a lot of that money, a lot of that tax revenue, where does it go? It goes to the coffers in Delhi. It goes to it's national tax revenue. So what are you talking about? The money's going to terrorists. It's going to you guys. It's going to the government. He doesn't get it.
Wait, what do you mean? Clearly the state are a bunch of terrorists. Come on, we all know those points.
Yeah, and who owns all those? And think about it. Who owns all of those? Ski resorts and hotels and health resorts and all that stuff in Kashmir, all the vacation. Who owns all that stuff? It's not Kashmiri. Kashmiris don't have the capital to own that stuff. The people who own that stuff, they live in Delhi, they live in Mumbai, they live in southern India, they live in places where there's money, and of course, those people have a lot of property and capital, or they're owned by foreign investors from the Middle East or America or whatever, right? So, like it wouldn't shock me if Vivek Ramaswamy or Kash Patel owned a vacation home in Kashmir or something. It would not surprise me one bit if they rented that shit out.
No, come on, Boy Meets Spinny. We already know it's owned by terrorists. Boy Meets Spinny, come on.
True, real,
and true, and based, and real, and poggers. It's all terrorists, obviously.
Says the Canadian, anyways.
Listen,
I'm just kidding.
Listen, we just put in a Marxist in power, okay? Global banker Mark Carney, okay? We're good, okay? Long.
True.
He has the mandate of heaven.
Yeah.
Long may he reign.
Well, but yeah, I just wanted to show you all sort of the unhinged takes out of this. Meanwhile, you got Rohan Davis here sitting at 23,000 views on a video he made a few days ago. He deserves 23 million views for this. But yeah, I think Rohan hit the nail on the head, actually. Like when you look at the arc of history with Kashmir, you understand that Kashmiri people have never had self-determination in the place that they live, right? Especially once the empire started coming through. Like they never had. And in the Indian government, sorry Indians, fellow Indians, I also say this about America, whether it's America, whether it's India or Russia or China or Pakistan, these countries are all empires, for better or for worse. They are empires. And so they have a veneer of democracy, but they are empires when it comes to geopolitics, when it comes to border disputes and fighting for resources and territory. They are empires, and they're going to do really brutal things. And frame it to you in propaganda and say, "Hey, we are valiant warriors, keeping Indians safe and at the Kashmir border or whatever." It's like, no, you're not listening to what the people of the region want. And yeah, Kashmiri people deserve full self-determination. It is very simple. And if you can't accept that, read more history. It will become very clear and apparent to you that that is the right course of action going forward. And if you care at all about solving the terrorism problem, if Kashmiri people have full self-determination, you're not going to have terrorism in the region. Why? Because most Kashmiri people don't want to be the victims of terrorism themselves. Okay, they don't want what happened in Pahalgam, last week,
Also-
where 28 people died. They don't want that. Nobody does. No normal person wants that, whether they're Kashmiri or Palestinian or whoever. Like, nobody wants that.
I mean, it's broadly
So-
speaking, like you would like improve material conditions on the ground. People, broadly speaking, are less likely to be terrorists. There can always be a bad apple out there or whatever, but that's like that just doesn't happen. Most
I mean,
people
and there's
fucking
reasons
people,
for
which
it.
is good.
Yeah, and there's reasons for it. Like, again, people get radicalized. We have a similar. I mean, and again, to the Indians who are concerned, oh, Kashmiris are all radicalized. I'm like, dude, look at your own country. On all your social media in India, young people are getting radicalized to join the RSS and the VHP and Bajrang Dal and all these Hindutva terror groups. So, and you might say, well, they're not terror groups. They're fighting for a Hindu Rashtra. I'm like, that's exactly what I mean. There are millions of young men, and particularly men, but even women to some degree. But a lot of young men are getting radicalized to join these right-wing brown shirt movements, and that's not right. I mean, it's basically it's like what was happening in the Weimar Republic leading up to Nazi Germany. Leading up to Hitler's election in 1933. Yeah, so it's the same thing. Yeah, well, nationalism, but also like sort of this this sort of combination of like religious ethno-fascism along with it. So if
Yeah,
they don't
but-
qualify as empires, they still do, and the engages in imperialistic actions. And yeah, the occupation of Kashmir by the Indian military is not a safety measure for Indians. It's not. We've clearly seen that it foments more of these problems, and now nobody knows who's funding the terrorist group. Who are the TRF? Who's funding them? Is it Pakistan? Is it America? I mean, India says it's Pakistan, and then Pakistan points the finger at America. It's like, who is it? And see, this is the root of the problem. So if you give Kashmiri self-determination, these problems solve themselves. Kashmiri people don't want this type of extremism in the place that they live. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna stop yapping. Do you have any questions, or did you want to go over anything in the video, or go back over something?
No, it's pretty much it's everything on the head. I mean,
Yeah.
consequences of nation states being made self-evident. Yet again? Whoa, crazy! All the
Ain't no way.
ain't
No
no
way.
way! Ain't no way! Whoa, guys, the state is kind of bad, guys. Whoa, ain't no fucking way, bros. Yeah, like there's really not much else to say here. Like, the byproducts and the consequences of nation states rearing their ugly heads as always. Like there's pretty much Rohan hits the nail on the head. Like if we want,
He always does.
If we want to talk about what people desire most of all, like do you think like anyone wants to just be like wants to deal with like fucking terrorist groups? No, generally speaking, not really. Like again,
No.
as has been said before, like if you take away the voice of people, what are they going to do? They're eventually going to, like, it's an inevitability that they're going to resort to violence. Like, simply put, that's just how it works.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, Daharumba, I'm sorry to inform you, but a lot of people in India are going to say, "Oh, that's some Western political theory."
I'm sorry. I'm being a wokelet. I'm being too woke. I'm being too liberal.
Yeah.
That's right. That's true. Yeah, I am kind of
Yeah.
a wokey boy. Me and my fucking pasty ass skin. Yeah, sure. That's true. That's real.
Yeah.
Many people.
Yeah, they'll say that. They'll say that, and they'll say that to you, and then they'll apologize for what the British did with the caste system. Amazing. Yeah,
Amazing,
you're
amazing.
apologizing for the actions of Western colonizers.
That's
Amazing.
true. I love
Cool.
Western colonialism as a Romanian because that makes a lot of sense, dude. Yeah, true. And real.
Totally. Yeah. Speaking of, at some point, I don't know if there's any videos there's probably a lot of good videos on Romania and like what they've experienced, right? I would imagine
It's most,
I don't know if there's any creators, but
maybe I don't know. Like,
Hmm.
dog, we're just kind of out here with Romania is just kind of out here, to be honest. I'll be honest. Like,
yeah.
we're just cooked basically because of a lot of extenuating circumstances. If you know the history, you know the history. Like we're just kind of cooked. Let's be honest. Dude, as a fucking country.
I mean, feels. I mean, that's how we feel in South Asia too. Now, some of us don't feel that way. Some of us want to, unalive all people in Kashmir. Unfortunately, some people from my country do, and that's not right. And also from Pakistan, there are people like that as well. But yeah, most of us feel like, yeah, we're cooked, and the history sort of shows why. So, yeah, I'm glad we were able to do this again.
Yeah, of
At
course.
some point, yeah, if you ever have a video you wanna yap about, I'm down to do this again as well. But yeah, everybody, I'm gonna give everyone a
Oh, yeah.
shout out to
I mean,
Dahurumba.
yeah,
Please
like I
give him a
said,
follow.
I mean, if you want to if you find a thing that you're curious, because I mean, like, keep in mind, I mostly just
This
kind
is
of
YouTube.
yeah, I mostly just like come in and just say like, hey, I see this thing's going on in the news or some shit, and I'll message you as my India Southeast Asia
What's going on?
correspondent because
Yeah.
I don't really know as much about the area, and I'm just like I'm like I see like a Pakistani like ministers advocating for nuking India. Like, what's going on? Is
Whoa.
that happening? What's up? I'm curious, maybe someone who knows more about the region could probably talk on this. That's
Yeah,
pretty much what it is.
well, I appreciate that, I'm one of your go-tos. I know, yeah, I think I've seen you in a runes chat as well, or at least hanging out around there. But he's also good on this, and there's a few other creators I recommend too. He's not on Twitch, but there is one guy who does mainly English content on Indian politics. If you want to delve really, really, really deep, he's actually in India. He's this guy Megnerd. I'm just showing him on the screen. But this guy, yeah, he's a nerd just like us. He's cool.
Nerd.
He's got a Chad beard. Gotta love him. But Megnerd is really good. He talks about sort of more domestic Indian politics, but even some of the globalism. And yeah, he has done some videos on the on the terror attack, and of course the India Pakistan recent conflict. But yeah, he also talks about internal politics and corruption and stuff. He's really cool. Megnerd is pretty cool. I do recommend his stuff. So let me link you that. I'll link it to you. I'll link it
Sounds good.
if you ever want to watch
In case
based Indian politics guy actually in India. But yeah, and also I want to shout out one other friend of ours. A lot of people in my chat know about him, but you may not know. There's actually a friend of our chat who I know through a runes community. His name is Finn Peanut. Finn Peanut is over in my home state. He's actually back home in Uttar Pradesh. He's actually back home there, and so he'll report on what's going on in the subcontinent. So yeah, Finn Peanut's cool too.
Yes.
Yeah, he's really cool. So I'm going to shout him out. Everybody give these wonderful creators a follow, especially Daho. Thank you for having me on again. I'll leave you to Factorio and whatever else you got going on. But yeah, I'm going to go play Oblivion Remastered. Could definitely use that after.
Stop! You violated the law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to join the Thieves Guild. Yeah, you know the whole meme. But anyways, yeah, thanks for having me on again. We'll see you another time. I'll have your stream up on the other screen, but yeah, time to yeah, and you too, and yeah, time to go to Cyrodiil.
True.
All right. See you around, man.
See you, dude.
Take care.
Bye. Oh man, we love yapping with Boy Meets Mini. We are Boy Meets Mini enthusiasts here. Oh, I mean, I didn't really talk all that much. I mostly just wanted to like listen, just see like, what's like going on, what's up, what's happening, what's the happening, because like I see a lot of shit with like with like Indian politics and stuff, especially in particular Kashmir, and I see like all this like shit that's going on, like the water treaty and all this other shit, and I'm just like, oh, well, best to like sort of learn, see what's up, blah blah blah, stuff like that. And so wanted to talk with Boy Meets Mini about that. It was good stuff, whoa, just as expected. Whoa, states are only caring about resources, exploitation of populations, and sort of like the control and maintenance of hierarchy. Like, you know, a lot of this sort of like similarity stuff. That's true, Rosa. Yeah, Boy Meets Mini is pretty great. I didn't really say much in chat, obviously. Wasn't really looking much at chat. That's my bad, but it is what it is. Wasn't too much going on. We all know, we all get it. Like, we get the meme, you know. Oh man, there's a bunch of terrorists or like nationalistic movements that want to like assert their own control, probably. Or this could be like a complete psyop. Like, who really knows what the fuck's going on? It is what it is, right? Like, states are gonna state. They'll do everything possible to maintain their own control and shit like that. We've been over this before. Not really much else to say about that. Obviously, like, Trump's like a buffoon. He doesn't know what's going on in any of the area, so... It's like a rehash of the previous century, for fuck's sake. Rise of fascism, etc. Yeah, pretty much, like... History repeats itself, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, free Kashmir, obviously. They never wanted a part of any of this, but, you know, there are greater powers around that say, like, actually, you don't really get much of a shit say. That's pretty much true. Yeah, the ISI is about to get on your case now, Boy Meets Mini. You decided to talk to a white boy about what's going on in Kashmir. Ah, shit, you're cooked now, bro. You're on a list. Anywho, yeah, not really much else to say here. Obviously, free Kashmir, all that good stuff. Very analogous to, like, you know, Israel, Palestine. You can make those arguments, and I would probably agree with those. But yeah, I mostly just wanted to learn more, see what's up, get the vibes on, stuff like that. Yep, not really much else to say about this. Besides, yeah, free Kashmir.